Hello, everybody. Good evening. We're going to get started. Nice. Thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started. If I can have your attention. Thank you. So we're going to get this meeting started. If I could please have a roll call.
Malinali Lopez.
Here.
Stephanie Ahmad.
Here.
Paul Kagorno.
Here.
Rich Carnation.
Here.
Bill Adams.
Here.
Student Board Member Meadow Graves.
Here.
Student Board Member Kai Arce.
Here.
And thank you so much, Kai, who is going to lead us in a flag salute. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Okay, thank you so much again, Kai. If there is a report out of closed session. Okay. Do you have anything, Jeremy, or?
No, it's your report out.
Okay, thank you. So I would like to report out on the expulsion case number 040924. And in the consideration of student expulsion case 040924, there is a motion for the findings of fact, and that motion was made by Rich Carnation and seconded by Stephanie Ahmad, and that passed. And in the consideration of the same expulsion case, there's a motion to accept the principal's stipulated recommendation for expulsion, and that motion was made by Bill Adams and seconded by Rich Carnation, and that passed. All right, so at this time, I would like to ask if there's any adjustments to the agenda.
Yeah, I have one. I'd like to pull item 4-10 or 4.10 and discuss it separately. Out of consent.
Okay, and Jeremy, do we need a motion for that?
You do not, and you can do it now, that's fine. You could also do it when you get to consent and we ask if there's any items.
We can wait.
Either way.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
I have something a little annoying. I think we need to do 2.3. We need to vote on each of those out loud, just because I know there's a requirement that we
Oh, I
vote
see.
in public,
Sure.
so that we
Sure.
make sure we've done everything. And we can't come back and people watch the video and they're like, they didn't actually vote. So
Okay, sure, so I'll just read out that statement and then I will entertain a motion.
thank you.
In the consideration of student expulsion case number 040924, is there a motion for a findings of fact?
Yes, I make a motion that we accept the findings of fact.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And in the same student expulsion case, is there a motion to accept the principal's stipulated recommendation for the expulsion?
I make a motion to accept the stipulated expulsion.
Thank you.
I second the motion.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would like to move item 4.10, if everyone's okay with this, to our discussion section, since it sounds like, Paul, you need some discussion around the item, and I'd like to move it right to the end. So we'll make it 5.10 at the end of that section. Is that okay?
Yeah, or we could do it right B.
You could just leave it in there and he could pull it because he just wants to pull it to discuss.
Just to
And we could
discuss.
still take action on it in the same spot, but just have a discussion.
Yes.
Okay, sure.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
So move it to the end of the
Just leave-
consent action items?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
okay,
President.
sounds great. So we'll do that. Thank you. Are there any other adjustments to the agenda? No? Thank you. So then we will move along to item 3.2, celebrating success with our principal, Patricia Chadwick. I'm so excited to hear from you.
Sorry, I'm a little shorter. Hi, everyone. Good evening. And I am here to celebrate some successes about what we have started and what we've accomplished this year at Maddie Washburn Elementary. So we have there we go. We have some slides where we're really just focusing on what we've been able to accomplish with our students and through our students this school year, from events that have taken place recently where students were preparing very intensely for these, as well as just some initiative work that has been started at Maddie or has been, I would say, refined throughout the school year. Next slide. So one of those pieces is our second grade Living Wax Museum, which we did have some district representation as well as board members that joined us. This is an event where it is all hands on deck. Yes, it is time for our second graders to showcase what they have learned. They literally bring history to life by learning about a historical figure, dressing as that person, speaking about what they know about this person, taking on that persona, and doing so in a Living Wax Museum format. They have to develop public speaking skills in order to do that. There's a lot of practice time dedicated. There's research involved. Just so much work that goes into it. And it's a really amazing opportunity for the second grade team of teachers and students to be creative together. So we actually have some photos that showcase this event. Fun fact, we had actually a professional photographer that was just a family member who brought his amazing camera and started taking these beautiful photos. So we said, you should come back every year and just volunteer to take beautiful pictures for us. But these capture what our evening event looked like. So there was a day event that was just for students from all grade levels to go and learn and experience. And this was our evening family event. And you can see just the buzz that we had on campus that evening. It was beautiful. Getting to see it for the first time myself was exciting. And I can't wait to see how we can grow this opportunity in the next school years. First-
Could you go back, Patricia, and
yes.
explain the significance for people who haven't been there of that round circle that's in front of the students?
Thank you, Bill.
There's a
You're right. So that little dot that you see there is you actually walk up to, so the students are literally like this, kind of like sleeping. You tap it with your foot, that little dot, and they come to life. And then they start teaching you about themselves, this historical or current figure, important figure. So it's literally as if they come to life for you when you come up, which is again part of the rehearsing, the practice, and taking ownership of what they've learned. Yeah. First grade has also had a space museum project where they learn about a lot of different things that have to do with outer space, the planets, the stars, the sun, a lot of the information that comes with that, obviously very science driven in the unit of study. But the really cool piece is that the culminating project is a hands-on exploration project and activity that then gets showcased for all grade levels to walk through classrooms and be part of a space museum. They get to see these hands-on projects that kiddos have worked on in first grade. And then it's also timed well for parents to be able to see at open house. So we can roll on and see the projects that students created. So this has a STEM focus to it, where they're trying to be problem solvers and think like engineers, think like astronauts or physicists in how can we create these 3D models with everyday household items, things that they don't have to worry about going out and sourcing and spending a lot of money on as a family, but just everyday items that you have at home and have access to. And again, teachers have come together to create a really amazing project and STEM activity for students. And here they are just kind of showcasing, teaching each other what they've learned. We also have a guest, Miss Corey Lewis, our Dean of Students. While I highlight quickly that we have 2 big student participation pieces through JAGGY Leadership and also positive reinforcement through our JAGGY Ticket and JAGGY Store, Miss Lewis is going to just touch on her role in that and how that has become something that we will grow, I would guess, actually build off of for the next school year.
Thank you. Hello. JAGGY Leadership is one of the more fun parts of my job as Dean of Students. It was developed a few years ago by 2 first grade teachers, one of whom still is gracious enough to help me out. So shout out to Susie Rosen. We meet about 2 or 3 times a month after school. The leaders have been nominated by their teachers. Teachers see some sort of leadership quality in the little ones, and we choose between, well, about 12 students, grades kinder through 2nd. We, at our meetings, talk about what it's like to be a leader. And with the littles, it's basically how are you a good example on campus, how you encourage others. We choose our spirit days, which is extremely important. And then we advertise our spirit days with posters and such. And one really, I think, neat component that Susie brought was we have the kids model appropriate behaviors or character trait for the month. And then she makes little videos that where the kids are the stars, and we send the videos to teachers, and then they also push them out on Parent Square so that parents can enjoy them too. So they made a little video for you where we asked them what they like most about Maddie Washburn, and if someone was to come on our campus, what they would want to show you. So we have the video, I believe.
Here we go. If technology.
Young, let's be kids. Let's do all those things that we never did. Let's be young. Come on, let's be kids. Let's go kicking off our shoes, stroll around the moon, hum a little tune, singing la 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 la.
What I like about Maddie Washburn is that everyone gets along in it and we can all make new friends. Everything. Class pets. I like recess. My friends. My teacher. I like the playgrounds that you can play. I like it because this school goes on field trips and some other schools don't. The libraries and the classrooms are glow monster truck racers. JAGGY Leadership. My class. My classroom and all the fun things I have in there. I'd like to show them the classrooms. Our caterpillars. My classroom. Ladybugs. I would make sure they see the library.
It's beyond
Cool.
all those things that
It's
beyond.
Second grade is awesome!
Let's be kids. Let's do all those things that we never did. Let's be young. Come on, let's be young. Come on, let's be kids. Come on, let's be young. Come on, let's be kids. Come on, let's be young.
It's adorable. I mean, they are. Yeah, so that's Shaggy leadership. And next slide, I think, is me too.
On a Jackie's.
Sure. So we have a Jaggy store as well, and it is part of our school-wide token economy. We've really worked hard this year to revamp that program and what it looks like, really focusing on what we call targeted behaviors with positive reinforcement. So right now, the target behavior is showing kindness. And so any staff member on campus who witnesses a student showing kindness gives kids a Jaggy ticket. And every Friday, we choose 3 Jaggy tickets from each class, and they get to come to the Jaggy store. And I am very popular on those days because it's really successful. The kids love it, and we are seeing positive change as a result. The store has all sorts of trinkets. You can see it there. Those are some of the Jaggy tickets and the little stores in the background there. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. And then lastly, just to kind of summarize, since it's been my first year at Maddie Washburn, definitely taking a moment to celebrate what we've accomplished in this year. My first year has been powerful. I think sometimes in our work as site administrators, we go, right? We have to do the things every day, every week, every month that we want to support our school and our school community. So taking a moment to pause and reflect at this time of year was incredibly powerful and meaningful to me. So thank you for that opportunity and being able to share that out with you. What I look forward to is continuous improvement, not just in the things that have been presented today, but in a lot of other work that has also been going on concurrently with staff and through our staff, both literacy, math focus to come, PLC work. There's just so much to be jazzed about, but wanted to really focus on students today. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. That was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Are there any comments from the board? Are there any comments from the board? No? Any public comments? No. Okay. So it looks like next up is item 3.3 with principals from each school presenting their volunteer of 2024. Do we have principals?
All right. Well, I'll go first because I got up here first. I guess that's a perk. So for Windsor High School, our volunteers of the year are Kelly Wong and Allison Godwin. I know Allison isn't here, but Miss Wong is back here. Come on up. Come on. Yeah. So a little bit about this lovely lady. She started volunteering for Project Grad in 2018. She started as just kind of setting up and, helping out here and there. And then fast forward 4 years, she became the president. And then this year she's co-president with Allison. And if you're not familiar with Project Grad, it's an amazing program that we put on, obviously on the same day as graduation. We like to think of it as our safe and sober event where all of our seniors can go. The amount of work that goes into it, there's like jumpies and inflatables. I saw there was like a large bowling alley, some putt-putt golf. Somebody's there to do henna designs. There's a nail salon. There's casinos. I could go on and on. Our whole campus is just transformed, and you can't even imagine all of the fun stuff that they have there for our seniors. And it's really a ton of work. And I want to give Project Grad a little plug. We need volunteers, like really, really bad. So So think about, paying it forward. If you're a freshman parent, we really want to get them on board now so that by the time their kiddo, like her kiddo, Scotty, is graduating, by the time they hit their senior year, they get to sit back and just relish in that time versus having to set up Project Grad. So we really need more volunteers like Kelly and like Allison to help us keep this moving forward. So thank you for everything that you do. We have some support. Oh. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. Lydia Teruel, principal at Cali, and I would like to honor tonight our wonderful volunteer of the year, for many years actually, Jennifer Lopez. So she has been volunteering this year. Great job with Lost and Found at Cali. And for the past 3 years, also helping out in classes. She started in kinder as a mom too. She figured out this year a system with other moms on how to locate and sort the different jackets and garments that we get on campus and make sure that those get back to the kiddos that lost them out there. And she makes sure that she puts all those names out in the Facebook page, and most of them really recover the garments. It's wonderful to see her coming on campus every day, ready for whatever comes her way, kind of with a smile on the face and ready to do everything really and working with all of us. So she's just a powerful game changer in our campus. And
our campus is 1,200 students, just to give you an idea of the magnitude of the lost and found.
It's like Macy's.
A lot of good stuff too. Plus, we also have request donated clothing. We do use clothing sale once a month if we can for uniforms, and we sell every item for $1. So we're really proud of that and the team that we've built for not only the lost and found, but the used clothing sales. So, and then this year we had a very successful book
fair as well, yes.
Which raises a lot of money for our library and our school. So I was happy to be part of that and support the librarian and get a team together for that. So it's been great. It's been fun. My daughter's in 4th grade. I've still got 4 more years to go. So I'm excited. I want my daughter to know it takes a team and a village to get her through, 8th grade and then hopefully on to high school. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh.
Hi, Sarah Bryant, assistant principal, stepping in for Angela. She's very sorry she can't be here today. My volunteer of the year is Jen Brown. She also can't be here tonight. It's okay. I'm still going to talk about her. She was a part of this team that started a boosters club for us this year, and it's just been amazing. They've done fundraising starting from ground zero, supporting the teachers. They just put on a fabulous teacher appreciation week for us. Teachers said it's the best one they've ever had. And we actually have another fundraiser coming up on June 1st, so mark your calendars, at Barrel Brothers from 12 to 9. There's going to be live music from 5 to 8, and 15% goes back to the Boosters Club. So we're so happy to have Jen Brown as our volunteer. All right, I'm going to invite Marley Stice and her current teacher that she's supporting at Brooks Elementary. So we have a lot of really fabulous volunteers at Brooks, but Marley stands out because of her willingness to just step in whenever we need her. And so just last Wednesday on Walk and Roll Day, when I'm riding in, usually it's our Dean of Students at the table, but she wanted to walk with the walking train or the walking bus and asked Marley to step in. And so Marley sat there and provided the toys and the prizes to the kids. I invited Joel Kushner, because her impact on him and his classroom was profound enough that when we got the recommendation to name her as our Volunteer of the Year, his words were more than I could say. So I'm going to have Joel speak to you.
This is much easier from the seat, but I'll try to not stutter here. Marley has done far more for our class than just be a volunteer. She has come into this class and she has been another adult for these kids to look up to, another adult who cares about them, and another adult who loves them, which is more than I can ask for and more than I've ever seen a volunteer do. We would not have had such a good year without her. The kids know that she is responsible for all the fun things that happen. She's responsible for the parties, the celebrations. She makes sure to include everybody, which is a pretty fantastic character trait. We made thank you cards for you today. I had to cut the kids off because they would just keep going. They kept on talking about all the things you've done for us. The kids love you and they trust you. And I feel like I'm just so grateful to have had a volunteer like you in our class, way beyond just a volunteer. You are a teacher in that classroom. So thank you for everything.
Thank you.
All righty. And at Maddie Washburn, we would like to recognize the amazing and lovely Kimberly Ortiz. Please come on down. Thank you so much. Let me tell you the reasons why. Come here. This lovely, lovely lady was one of the first friendly faces that I had the pleasure of meeting at our campus. I'm talking before first day of school even. And I knew that this was going to be a shining light and a person that was going to be very impactful at our campus. She has a kindergartner at our school, Anahea, and she volunteers regularly, and I mean regularly, at our school, not just in the classroom, but in various capacities. She's present at every coffee with the principal. Her voice is important and active in C-STAR as well. And she's one of the board members in C-STAR, worked endlessly with our very busy school calendar to make sure that the students get a STEM focused and science assembly. This spring, the Magic Circus is coming to Maddie. So all of these things that she has worked so hard to do for our campus to benefit all students. Easily her lens could be on kindergarten, since that's where her daughter is. But no, she thinks about what can all kids benefit from? What can we do? What can I do? What can C-STAR do to impact and benefit all students? Which is why we in education do what we do. So I greatly admire and appreciate just her active and responsive kind of nature, problem solving, and always from a positive place that's focused on our students. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the board on this item? No, I just want to say a wonderful presentation, and it really lifts my heart to hear all the wonderful work that is happening. So thank you so much to all the principals. Okay, so we are now going to move on to item 3.5, which is public comment on non-agenda items. Oh, did I skip one? Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped one. I'm so sorry. So we skipped item 3.4. I'm so sorry to the retirees. So we're going to be celebrating our retirees, and this item is going to be presented by Pete Sullivan. Thank you, Pete.
Y'all ready now? I mean, it's only been 37 years for some of you to reach this point, so let's get it done. Right on. Thanks for being here tonight. Before we kick off, I do want to say a special thanks to my team and to Heather Bailey. So everything that you see tonight was done by these wonderful people. Heather put together all of this, all of the correspondence and everything that went out was Heather. And then all of the gift giving and all of the assembly and everything was done by my HR team. So thank you all very much for being here tonight and for doing my work for me. I appreciate it. Tonight we have an opportunity to celebrate those who have put in the work. The staff who have laid out the foundation of success we enjoy, the staff who have committed to our kids and our families, the staff who have made a difference. We want to take a moment to express our heartfelt appreciation for your dedication and years of service to the students, staff, and families of Windsor. As you begin this new chapter, we celebrate you and your incredible contributions, unwavering commitment, and lasting impact you have made. You have shaped countless lives and left a legacy of dedicated service.
Just sing a song and bring the sun.
On behalf of Windsor Unified School District, we extend our deepest gratitude for your unwavering commitment and the positive influence you've had.
Till we meet again.
As you can see, our theme tonight is Happy Trails. In honor, we've purchased some inspired gifts. You're each going to get a sling backpack, a water bottle, a first aid kit, because you never know what can happen. And you're going to get a little blanket, and we hope you use that
Here's a happy one
to get out there and enjoy. So, we're going to be off sequence, but I'm going to have our principals come up, and they're going to say a few words about each of our retirees. So if I could welcome Danielle Buckner to come on up.
happy trails to
All right, thank you, Pete. I have a lot more to say than I can in just this little bit of time that Pete told me I had to stick with. So the first retiree that I'm going to ask up to come up here is Marie Gannister. Come on up, come stand with me.
just sing a song and bring the sunny way.
You knew I was going to do this to you. You had to.
I did.
Marie's been with us for 23 years. Some highlights: she envisioned and created the current culinary program that we have right now. So that started in 2001. She was the creator of our new commercial fast food facility, the Prowl Cafe. And something that I wanted to highlight on here, she won or was awarded the Jack London Award of Excellence in Education from Sonoma State University School of Education. So I could be here all night celebrating the many wonderful things that Marie has brought. And I'm going to keep picking her brain next year when she leaves me, but that's okay because she deserved it. So thank you so much, Marie.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, next I'd like to bring up Barney Kaufman. All right, so Barney has been with us for 23 years. He's the founding business teacher of our Vineyard Academy. He served as one of our baseball coaches, still do, off and on, right? You've created the viticulture program for Vineyard. You've taught students financial literacy for teenagers, soft skills, interview skills, stock market, banks, all of the above. So thank you so much for everything that you've done.
Thank you.
Who cares about the clouds?
All right, Mr. Dave Beal. Oh, perfect. You're front and center. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So Mr. Beal's been with us for 20 years. He joined our art staff 20 years ago. He's not only been an exceptional art teacher, he's a talented graphic design artist. The main thing that I want to highlight is he's been working with Wellsworth Publisher for our yearbooks for about 19 years. And he's ended up in the top 5% of the yearbooks published, receiving the Gallery of Excellence Awards for 18 years. So I don't know if you've seen our yearbooks, but they're tremendous. They're beyond words. So thank you so much, Mr. Beal.
Here's a happy one.
All right, Jeff Hardy, are you still with us, Mr. Hardy? There you are. Amazing. All right, so he joined us in 2000 as a resource teacher. He's been in special education for that time. He's worked in small groups, math, small group history, learning centers. He worked with Build for a while as well, and also as athletic director, and has been our union president this year as well. So thank you so much for everything you've done.
Just sing a song.
And Jeff, Diane wanted me to say she's very proud of you.
Aww. Rob Haney is not here with us this evening. He is also retiring. He's been at our school site for about 2 years. He's been an instrumental part of the Build Academy. He's worked with our 910 core and the Introduction to Construction class, but then also the Build class for our 1112 component as students kind of move through it. So he's done a tremendous job of getting that off to a great start, and now he's building his own cabin in the woods somewhere, I believe. He's very, very excited about it. So thank you to Rob Haney. He's not here. All right, and last but certainly not least, Miss Melissa Fountain, come on up, please. Thank you. All right, Melissa Fountain's been with us for 25 years. She joined us in 1999. She's been one of our paraeducators at the high school for 7 years. And one of her fondest memories is working in the special day class with Deb Nelson. They had the same kids from 6th through 12th grade, so they really got to see them grow and develop over that time. And she said that helping the kids of that group is one of the most rewarding experiences of her career, and seeing these students exceed their challenges. And her husband are moving to Gallatin, I didn't mess it up, Tennessee. They have a beautiful home and they're super excited. So thank you for everything that you've done. And I'm done. That's all of them. Well, we have one special one, but we're going to save that to the end.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So our one retiree from the middle school is not here this evening, but Brian Williams is going to say a few words about Heather Cohen. Let's hear it for Heather.
I guess we could say technically the middle school because that's where she has her classroom, but she is pretty much a district employee. So tonight we're going to celebrate Heather. It's an incredible career, and she's not here tonight. Why? Because she's putting on a play. She's not only made a difference in our schools, but she has done with such kindness and compassion. It's practically her trademark. One of Heather's most significant contributions is the sheer number of opportunities she has provided for our students. She's ignited their creativity and the innovation in young minds through initiatives like her Odyssey of the Mind. And thanks to Heather, we have a generation of students who can think outside the box and reach for the stars. Heather's impact extends far beyond academics. Her remarkable ability inspires students to find joy and passion in the arts. Her dedication knows no bounds. Heather has spent countless hours crafting unforgettable experiences for our students, each a testament to for her personal touch. From theater productions to collaborative efforts with multiple schools, she has worked tirelessly to ensure as many of our students have the opportunity to participate and flourish. But perhaps Heather's most enduring legacy lies in the unique memories she has helped create. Through her volunteerism and her unwavering commitment to the arts, she has made each experience for our students exceptional and unforgettable. From the smallest gesture to the grandest production, Heather's unique touch has left an indelible mark on Windsor Middle School and the entire Windsor community. So Heather, when you're watching this back on YouTube, and everyone here, thank you for your kindness, compassion, and seemingly superhuman ability to make every single student feel like a star.
Thank you, Brian. And now presenting for Callie is going to be Lydia. Come on up.
I am so excited and honored to present to all of you one of the greatest kinder teachers at Cali Comecale, in which academy Miss Isabel Diaz. Known also as, with your permission, Chabela. Okay. Chabela is an extraordinary kindergarten teacher at Cali. Together with the school's two founders, she started her powerful bilingual work at Cali, serving many students and families 38 years ago, 2 years after Cali opened. Chabela has an engaging manner that captivates the young students' attention. She is a lifelong learner who researches new strategies and develops new materials every day. She brings in lots of realia to support students in learning both languages and concepts. She is highly organized, with an entire room at her house dedicated to only creation of curriculum. She showed a particular interest and dedication to teaching ELD all her life. Chabela is humble. That's what Chabela is, humble. She always kept a vast collection of books organized by theme or level, and she always grabbed any kinder appropriate books that others threw away. She always was in the look. She is a great dancer. She got the moves. She will be truly, truly missed, as will her wisdom, passion for bilingualism, and love for the children. Her seeds planted at Cali will continue to bloom on our campus. With all the work we still have to do, PLCs, P3CC, you will be missed.
And our retiree from Brooks is not going to be here tonight. And so we are going to bring up Patricia Chadwick from Maddie Washburn. Come on.
So I am here to recognize and celebrate Miss Donna Hartline, who I did see she was here. She's not here. Well, still, let me speak about her. She has been just a joy to see at our kinder grade level and with kinder kiddos for, I believe it's 16 years back now at Maddie. But clearly, she has made an impact on our school community. Students, now generations worth, just love her classroom, love the learning that they've been able to do with her. Her passion for art is evident in the arts integration that she has been able to bring into her classroom. So many different medias that she uses with students, and they all come out thinking, yes, I am an artist. I do have artistic skills, which is so much fun to see. When we had recently our open house, she surprised us by being there at open house because she has been on medical leave recently, but she was there and her students got to see her, families got to see her, and you could just feel the buzz of excitement around her being there, her presence alone. So I know she's made an incredible impact on our school community, so much so that she's willing to come back and do art with our students even in retirement next year. She's told me so. So I will hold her to that. She's also shared the expertise of her own husband and his love for science and STEM and engineering. And he's even volunteered his time on our campus for years now. And seeks to do so even after Donna is retired. So again, I just want to thank her for the love that she has for our students, for our school community, and the impact that she's had on us.
All right, and I'd like to call Kim Marr up, please. Come on up, Kim. So Kim and I got to work together, most specifically during COVID. Let's just pretend that didn't happen. But in that time, I got to know Kim very well. And tonight we get to honor her. Her dedication and expertise have been invaluable to Windsor. Throughout her career, Kim has implemented a district-wide health program ensuring the well-being of every student. Kim's commitment extended beyond the school, making home visits for early intervention. As a case manager for students with chronic health conditions, she collaborated with staff, healthcare providers, and community agencies to develop comprehensive care plans. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Kim's leadership guided us through unprecedented health crisis. She provided staff training, consulted during health incidents, and ensured compliance with health regulations, and kept me sane. Thank you, Kim. So thank you, Kim, for your unwavering commitment to our district, and congratulations on your retirement. All right, Grace, would you please come up? Okay, here we go. So Grace, you've been on my mind a lot lately. For a number of reasons, Grace and I worked together very close. We were in the trenches for 3 years together at the high school, and kind of COVID, we were still there. And so I've been thinking a lot about what I was going to say about this, because I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. But so she entered my dream. She was in my subconscious, floating around up there. And as dreams are, this one was particularly strange. And Stephen Summers handed me a goat. No, it was, I'm sorry, a baby cow to walk through campus. So I'm walking through the campus with a baby cow, and I'm heading toward a livestock trailer, which we apparently had purchased to move this cow. And as I round the corner, you probably did. And as I round the corner, I hear singing.
Is it still playing?
Pardon?
It's still playing?
What, this? Yes, yeah, it still plays. It's going to keep going. So I hear singing, and I go around the corner, and there's Grace with her arms up in the air, and she goes like this, and all the kids sing spaghetti. That was terrible. It sounded better in my dream, and I was like, okay, wow. So I move on. So I wake up, and my conscious mind couldn't rectify the baby cow. It couldn't quite place why I had a livestock trailer on campus. It couldn't really, I didn't know why I was there. But the one thing that my mind was totally okay with was Grace leading a group of kids in a musical about spaghetti. Because of course you could. Because of course anybody who can imagine, fund, and grow, implement a 9 through 12 wellness center, which as of today has served 655 students, and a next-gen early education childhood with an eye to create future teachers and employ them in our district. To blueprint, plan, and construct, build, see what I did there? That was for you. Build Academy and the feeder to build, co-build at Windsor Middle School. To be a founding member at Vineyard Academy, one of Windsor High School's most popular cores. To date, we estimate you're involved. 5,800 students to date. Tirelessly pursue SRJC certifications for dual enrollment. Of course, you could do that, Grace. If you could build the hybrid core, pre-med, now community health, be instrumental in the WUSD accreditation. Academic peer tutoring our tutors, which are paid employees of Windsor Unified. Of course, you could expand our A through G. Of course, you could champion PSAT for 9th and 10th graders year in and year out. And that's really hard, by the way. Of course, you would co-author in 2001 through 2009 the Distinguished School Award for Windsor Middle School. You would be a recipient of the State California Golden Bell Award and receive the Certificate of Merit and inducted into the National Honors Roll of Outstanding American Teachers for exceptional performance. Of course, you would create Ramp Camp, accelerated summer school, as well as credit recovery school programs. Of course, you would have a massive college fair and a huge countywide career connections event. Anyone who could teach kids to sing about spaghetti could run community-wide events for circle keepers and create a community within our school for a supportive network. Of course, anyone who could do that could be a founding member of Big Picture Learning, lead the way for years of standard-based grading work, bring professional development days with designed by teachers for teachers. Of course, anyone who could do that could imagine and plan a drive-through COVID everything. And of course, anyone who could teach a group of kids to sing and perform about spaghetti can apply for, receive, and implement and manage well over $1 million in grants for the district. All of this and much more has been done over 29 years of dedication to education in the Windsor Unified School District and 37 years of education. It's obvious that much of the current landscape of Windsor Unified has been shaped by your ideas. And though many of us will remember you for your countless hours spent improving the experience for students, families, and momentous projects and tireless effort to bring innovative programs to our district, many others will treasure your thoughtfulness, your emotional support, your professional guidance, inspiration, and the love you shared every day. Hands together for Grace Curtin-Fiano.
Who cares about the clouds if we're together? Just sing a song and bring the sunny weather. Happy trails to you. Till we meet.
Happy trails. The trail pass is inspired by you, by the way. Forgot to mention, there's a trail pass in there for each and every one of you. So Grace got me hiking. Hopefully she'll get you hiking too. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy trails to you.
Before you go, can we get the retirees up here for a quick picture?
Right here.
Yeah, we're going.
Shabella, you must have started when you were Gracie, come on, baby.
You're fine. Stay there. You can stay there. It's okay.
I don't want to be.
Yeah.
Grace, Cara.
All right, thank you so much, Pete, for that presentation. I can still hear the music in my head. Yeah, I think we need to work on your timing because at the Oscars, they say their speech and then the music plays and it comes in. So I think we're going to take a very brief 2-minute break and then we'll get to public comment. So we'll come back in 2 minutes.
There we
Oh, that's working. Oh, okay. All right.
IT guy.
So now we're in
He took it.
business. All right, so now we're at public comment on non-agenda items. If there's a public comment, please approach the podium.
Yes, we don't have any.
Okay, so seeing none, I think we're just going to move on to item 3.6, which is a report from our student board members, Meadow Graves and Kai RC.
This will take place at the podium.
Yes. Neon, their shirt.
All right, so we're going to start with our presentation, and then we're going to introduce after that our trustees for next year. Starting though with the events that we've covered, we of course had our Interact Peace Poll ceremony, which Mr. Decker and Bill and Paul were lucky enough to attend. They were lucky. It was a great ceremony. The Interact Club at our school is trying to create peace through the Peace Poll, through the garden that's right next to it. So it was a great event. We also had our senior awards night, which was an amazing night. All of our seniors got their scholarships, their awards, their recognitions for all the hard work they've done for the past 4 years. Big night, very important. And I think everybody had a great time. We also had our Product 24 with all of our CTE programs. So we had a presentation by dance, orchestra, band, drumline. All of our clubs came out. We also had, of course, art, and we had food trucks. Beautiful. It was such a great time. A lot of people came out. We had also our fall concert, an amazing time as well. Some beautiful music. Our Special Olympics, which we see the photo of Bill and Jeremy at, was a great success as well. We had, I think, schools from across the county come. Amazing event, so much fun. I mean, everybody going everywhere. I don't know. It's such an amazing time every time. And then also our leadership team was lucky enough to be able to go to the Boys and Girls Club over at the middle school and help run some games, run some events. And that was an amazing time. We had a great time helping them do more. I don't know if you want to talk about prom.
Well, you just kind of,
Whoa.
though we don't have pictures of it, there was also prom on the 27th. And then there was the Zumbathon at Maddie Washburn. I also don't have pictures of it, but there's a really cute thank you sign with all the students' names on little plaques with their names outside the library on the campus.
The next slide, please. Thank you. Oh, brief intermission. We're all right. Okay, do you want to introduce this then?
I think is my slide first. Yeah. This is our empathy interview report for this year. So our empathy interviews, for those of you who do not know what it is, when we do the Youth True surveys, it's just over a screen. And for us personally, I don't respond very well to a screen. There's not much personal connection. So if you're giving it to a child, it's not able to adapt to whether the child doesn't understand the way a question is asked, or, okay, you have 2 or 3 ways to answer this question, pick a circle. That doesn't get the best response. But if you are there talking to the student, you are able to truly understand how they feel. So we've been working with Superintendent Decker on understanding with a small amount of students from each school, kind of as a sample size to see how the students in our district are doing. We focused on community and belonging just to see, because that was the area that was not doing too great on our Youth Truth. Oh, I'm still mad. Okay. Sorry. So the community aspect at Maddie Washburn is really well. The students build community through Jaggy leadership. There's Zumba. They sing songs in the gym, at least the first graders do. They do reading clubs, and just all of them really love playing at recesses. That's where a lot of them connect with the other friends. Belonging, there's really not a lack of belonging in the lower grade levels at all. And they just love playing with their friends. They feel very encouraged by their teachers. That's honestly all they can talk about. And they feel very safe. They talk about how all of the fences they're like, how can we not feel safe? And just the security and the guards, I can't think of them.
The yard duty?
Yard duties on campus. The guards. And then Brooks Elementary, it was very similar. It's very hard to get these aspects from younger grade levels, but they've said that they could easily make friends at school. They could go up to someone and they would play with them. The teachers would help them make friends. And whether it was in class, they could sit next to anybody at lunch. And if I asked if they felt comfortable or if they felt like they had friends, and I didn't have a single student say no. And that was amazing. And I asked if their teachers made it so everybody could play together, everybody could participate, and all of them said yes as well. For safety, emotional safety, the students have something called Rest Stop, which is similar to what would be known as a wellness center. And almost every student there mentioned it, and it's a very utilized resource there. So that is very amazing. So shout out to that. But there was also a mention that they don't feel there is enough yard duties to kind of stop the conflicts from different grades or other students when they are on the playground. Okay, big picture learning. From personal experience, there is no lack of community at this school. I love this place. They build a lot of community through their LTIs. The students connect to the actual community, whether it's in Windsor, Santa Rosa, even other towns, because they're able to pursue like a career or a hands-on learning experience with what is called a mentor. For example, this year, my mentor is Jen because my LTI is the board. And she's an amazing one. She's great. They also do on-campus activities such as kick-ins, First Fridays. We did like a Thanksgiving style activity, which Kai got to go to. And then for belonging, many of the students, due to the smaller campus and class size, are able to foster a closer sense of belonging. And that's not only with each other, but the staff members. When I was talking to the students, that is something that was very touched on. They were like, I feel like they really care. I feel like we really got to connect. And that was really nice to hear. And personally, I feel like I was able to connect to everyone sitting over there. And I'm really grateful that I got to. And safety, honestly, I don't really feel as if safety is a big issue for those kids, but what really stood out is that how emotionally secure they felt and that they could share that with the staff on campus. And then Windsor Oaks, this school really stuck out for me. They went through a big shift because they shifted campuses. And one of the staff members that some of the students was familiar with was not there in the beginning of the year. And I know that for a lot of the students, they connect with a staff member in any school. So there was a big shift going on. So community was something we wanted to focus on as a whole thing for this project. But they build a lot of community. They go bowling monthly on Thursdays. They do First Fridays as well. And the teachers will do group activities or put them in groups with other students, sometimes ones they don't often interact with. And they mentioned that it's an overall welcoming environment. So it's kind of hard not to have a community on that campus. And belonging, hold on. The students are uplifted by the staff and the peers are met where they're at and for what they need to succeed. And the students just overall feel supported by the staff. On the next slide are some of the student answers on our survey. I was kind of blown away not because I didn't expect it, but because of just how amazing it was and how thoughtful the responses I got from the students were, because it was just awesome to hear. I asked what their favorite part about their school was, and it was all like the teachers, the people, the support. And I asked like things they do to build community, and every single student I talked to could give me at least one or two things. And I just thought that was amazing to hear. All right, I'm done. Oh yes, never mind. I have Callie. I'm sorry. And then the younger grade levels at Callie, unfortunately, I didn't get to survey very many of them due to absences, but the younger grades do find a lot of community just from playing with friends. I've noticed that was very common in the lower grade levels. And the staff members do really good at connecting the kids, the yard duties, and our district overall are really good at that. And then they feel like they can always ask someone to play with them or a staff member will help them. And the yard duties, teachers, good safety aspect. One kid really liked fire drills and requested more of them. So there we go. Now it's Kai.
Yes. Now I feel like I can't do that up. I don't know what to say now. I'm sorry. Could you go back to Cali for 1 second? I did the 6th through 8th at Cali. Of course, our community there was very strong. They have a lot of school events, school-wide events, and they're all a very tight-knit campus. So I think everybody felt like they belonged, and a lot of the belonging came from their teachers. I was worried because when they talked about their teachers, they're like, they made me stay into lunch to finish my math homework. I was like, oh, so you must be hating these teachers. But they liked it. They said, this means that these teachers truly care about me, that they believe in me, that they know I can do this, and they're keeping me in for lunch. And I think it's a testament to how amazing the community and the atmosphere they've created at Cali, that is still seen as a good thing, that these students understand that the teachers and everybody is there for their success, not just for their own pleasure, you know? Also for their safety as well, because it's a closed campus, because we have the gates and everything, people feel very safe. We have yard duties. When I was there, I was like, wow, I can see an adult everywhere. Somebody's always watching the children. There's always somebody around. So I think everybody felt very safe because of that. Next, thank you. I'm sorry. I would like to start with Windsor Middle School. So this is where I spent a lot of my time. They have, I'll be honest, the changes this year that have been put in place have been amazing. I think they've created a stronger community at the school. Seeing the principal walking around on campus, a lot of people talked about how that makes everybody feel like they belong, that they're all part of this tight-knit group. The safety, I do believe that the two student resource officers they have at that school play a large role in that community, in that belonging, in that safety. Each one of them, every time I asked a student about safety, that's where they first went to. Well, I have an adult I can talk to because they come talk to me anyway. Every day they're coming, introducing themselves, trying to work with the students. They know everybody's name. I think that was a large part of how people felt they belonged there. Moving though to Windsor High School, I think a lot of students found their community through their clubs, through their sports, and through their corps. I don't believe at Windsor High School we promote our clubs enough because the students who were in clubs and in sports both said that these were the main things that they found their friends through. So I think that those are massive assets to us. I do believe our sports, though, making sure that people know that we have non-competitive sports as well, or non-super high level competitive sport that anybody can enter is very important. I do believe everybody felt like they belonged. Everybody felt like their cores, they had all their best friends with them. I do also think, though, this brings up an issue I would like to touch on as we looked at, I think a few meetings ago, the difference between Hispanic and white students in their achievement ratings. And I understand that this is due to a multitude of reasons. After looking at some census data and other data I could find, I do believe there is, of course, an economic difference between the two groups. But there is also, I think, something we don't often realize is that these cores are usually primarily either Latino or white students. Now I'm not saying that's a huge problem. I believe all of our cores are amazing programs and they all have amazing things to offer. I wish I could be in all of them, but I do believe that that's contributing to some of our issues and something that we should look into, at least pushing more students or making everybody feel like they can go into whatever they want. A lot of students do what their sibling did. They do what their friends are doing. And that's why they're all going together. I don't think it's a problem of our school not offering them the opportunity. Anybody can go wherever they want. It's their friends and their groups are going one place and they go with them.
That's fantastic insight.
Thank you. And our safety, again, very strong. I believe we have a very safe campus. Everybody feels safe. Of course, we have our student resource officer, who's always there, always coming around, people coming around in golf carts, always watching, always introducing himself, always talking. So I think we have a great community there through that. Perfect. Now I don't know if we want to ask questions or if we have more comments on this. So, after that then, I would like to introduce our next two student trustees, if you guys would come up, Zoe and Kylie, to introduce themselves. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kylie Hernandez. I'm a sophomore at Windsor High School, and a little bit about me in my free time. I really like to bake. I like to make my own recipes, and that's kind of what I do in my free time. And a lot of the reasons why I wanted to be a part of this is to be a part of my community, to feel like I have a voice in my community. But as I started to look more into what the trustee does, and I realized that I also wanted to make a place where people that look like me, people that come from similar backgrounds of me, feel like they have a place in this community. I wanted to be the representation that that was lacking, essentially. So I'm really, really looking forward to the improvement that I can make in this community. And yeah, I'm working with.
Hi, I'm Zoe Mankiewicz. I'm also a sophomore at Windsor High School. I'm in the Discovery Corps. In my free time, I like to read and listen to music. And for this position, I'm excited to advocate for the students, act as a voice, and recognize challenges within the school system and work to solve them. As we've seen, there's been a lot of positive change throughout the years, but I also want to primarily focus on the academics and the lowering of the test scores. And I just think there's so many dynamic things that we could do with this position. And I'm just so excited to start off the year.
Thank you guys so much.
That's it for us.
Kai, do you mind staying there as well as Meadow? And I just want to say welcome to the new student board members. Thank you for that.
Yes, welcome.
So I wanted to say a few words, and then I believe some of the board members may want to say a few words as well. But just very quickly, if I were to think of a word that describes each of you, Meadow, for you would be grit, 100% grit. I think that it's been a while since I've met a young person that works as hard as you do. And I just want to say how much you've inspired me. And then for Kai, you're just so inspirational. I feel like you're 30 years ahead of your time, you know, with just the way that you think and the way you talk. I'm always impressed by you.
Thank you very much.
So are there other comments?
Yeah, we got the presenter. You guys shouldn't leave. Well, see, they left before they see the presentos.
I think they're just,
Yeah, why don't you guys walk down there and then we can,
we have a few gifts for you.
both of you, and I think some people know this, but some don't. Both of you were transfers into our school system. And don't open those yet, I guess.
Oh.
But to watch how you have transformed and cultivating your leadership potential. And I would use a different word, although grit's a good word. I think when you came on board, Meadow, you reminded us that we have more than just a high school. And of course, the reps come from the high school. But you were very interested in making sure that we were connected to the littles and back to the schools, and there, by consequence, the parents and those principals who really report to a superintendent, but kind of get disconnected a little bit when we get to this level. So thank you very much for that. And Kai, you're stepping up to do stuff at the statewide level for the School Boards Association and student trustees is largely unsung. Many people don't know about it, and it's amazing what you have both done. Taking this position, first time we've had two, we probably could have used 4 for all the stuff you guys were doing, to really help us. And for those of you who either are around at these meetings or talk to some of us after, we have meetings with our student trustees a couple times when mostly with closed sessions that are student or staff discipline. We don't have them come in, but there were closed sessions on safety and things that we did have them come in. And there were insights that came from our two student trustees that kind of had the rest of our jaws dropping because we didn't think of a thing that way. And for that, I'm very grateful. And you're going to do great things. Remember where you came from.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments?
When I first ran for the board a long time ago, it seems like a long time ago, I was very frustrated because I thought, I always had high expectations for our district when I first was a parent here, and I just thought that we could be doing even better. And when I see you two, and I see the kids and just all the things that are going on in our district right now, it's my heart is full. You two epitomize two opposite ends of the spectrum being magnificent and in your own way. And you're both examples to us and all the kids that are in the school. And I'm just proud of you both. And you guys, big or small, the things that you guys accomplish in your life, you're going to be impactful. And I'm proud of you guys, and I know we all are. And you're just amazing people, and it's been great to have you in our orbit. I mean, never heard of student trustees before when I certainly didn't pay attention to them before I got on the board. And you guys have been really, really good examples of all the good things that any parent or any adult would want our youth to be, and proud to know you guys.
I don't have long comments. I just want to say that it's been a great year. You guys have done a great job. Don't want to compare to past trustees. Everyone leaves their own mark, right? And you guys have made a really big mark, and I'm going to miss you. So it's been really great getting to know each of you too. And you both have complemented each other in this role, and I think also helped grow each other's contributions. So that's been great. And then our new trustees, I feel like you also came from outside of the district, which we know Bill and I were responsible for selecting you. So that was a really interesting dynamic. And then our new trustees are definitely from inside of the district, and people that I've known for some time. So that's pretty exciting. So it's interesting to see the transition, to see the different perspectives. We're so excited to get started with Kylie and Zoe, and we will miss you very much.
Well, pretty much I echo my fellow board members' comments. Getting to know, both of you individually and together has been just an honor for me to see in such young people the potentials that you have and what you've brought to this board. It's meant a lot to me. And just talking to you one-on-one or in a group, just seeing, Kai, your leadership is it's off the charts. I mean, I don't know what's in your future, but if it's politics or, you're right there. And Meadow, I hope you do continue your interest in teaching. I think you'd be a wonderful teacher. And I'm just thankful I got to know you. And that's all I can say. Thank you.
Are we allowed to respond?
Oh, yeah.
Sure,
Well, we
go
don't
ahead.
want to be debating.
No, I'm not saying.
Put some music on, like.
Hey, do you still have that track? Okay.
I think you have to ask Heather. She owns it now.
No.
Heather, hit the beat. Okay. Just thank you all. Honestly, I don't know. I'll go into detail, don't worry. But it was really nice getting to know all of you. And I think that being on the board helped grow my character in a lot of ways. It put a pressure on me in the best way possible in something that I was extremely passionate about, and opened doors to things that I was passionate about that I had no idea I would be ever until that door was opened for me. And you guys supported me and all these crazy ideas I had, and just let me figure everything out. And I really appreciate that. And I appreciate all the perspectives and wisdom you guys showed me that I never would have come across had you guys not given me this opportunity. And I appreciate every relationship I formed with you guys. And this was truly such an amazing experience to have had with all of you guys. So thank you for this year. You guys are all so amazing.
I'm sorry. I don't want to take too long. I'm not a very emotional person, but it does mean a lot. Meeting with each of you and all the wisdom you've helped me with or helped my life with. I'm sorry. I don't know. Sorry, it means a lot to me. It really does to have so many people who are willing to do stuff for you or willing to help you in any way. It's very different for me, but it's I'm very thankful. Thank you so much. And thank you, Matt.
All right. Superintendent Decker.
That's right. A little Star Trek on there. Yeah. Be careful. All right. Who's running things? Brian, you running? I don't have a clicker, yeah?
Oops.
Okay, here we are. So we recently had our Rotary Club's Teacher of the Year breakfast, and we have a number of our honorees, so I'll go through them really quickly. So from Maddie Washburn, we have Sharon Pariani. I'll read the quote that was said about Sharon. What I like about my teacher is that she's so nice. She helps us be good students. She helps me with my work, and she reads us books. She's the best because she's kind. And then we have Jane Ellen from Cali. And caring was the word that was used to describe her. She always helps me out when I do not understand. From Windsor Middle, we had Mandy Neidlinger. Her word that was used to describe her was exceptional. And it was said about her, she cares for her students and believes you if you tell the truth. That's a good trait. From Brooks, the word was used to describe Natalie Dye was sunshine. She is sunshine. She is very, very sweet, funny, and she has a cute laugh. She helps us when I'm having a problem. She cheers me up. On Fridays, she lets me sit in the quiet corner during shopping time. It's the best. I recline. For Windsor High School, it was Lisa Hadley Hill. Lisa's here still. She is. Roots was the word used to describe Miss Hadley Hill. Miss Hadley Hill is very enthusiastic about her students' progress, and she navigates the needs of her students individually. She's very focused as well, so we could be successful in our junior and senior years. She would make science connections to our lives outside the classroom and tell us about how this applies to college. When we studied biology, she was passionate. I wanted that as well, and I began to get interested in bio, and now I want to be a nurse because of her. Right? Oh, we got another one that's here too. Shannon Johnson. Thank you. From North Bay Met. Inspiring was the word to describe Shannon. Having the opportunity to be taught by someone so caring and passionate is a blessing. Shannon is more than a teacher to me. She has become someone I look up to. During my weekly meetings, she always checks in on me, asks about my rodeos and outside life. You remember the person that came here, right? You can tell that she truly cares about her students more than just on a teacher-student level. I will always value everything she has taught me into college. She is truly one of the best teachers I have ever had. Right? Congratulations to all of our teachers. And we have another person that's here. You know, we talked a little bit about an award that was won by Miss Diana Rudisil, and that was a pretty awesome award. But my goodness, 2024 CCEA Plus Counselor of the Year. Now, once again, this is everywhere, guys. So last time, this was a regional title, but now she's our statewide winner for California Continuing Education Association Plus, because this is massive. So, you know, I'll just read about the award. It's given annually to individuals who have gone above and beyond in their leadership with staff, dedication to student success, and involvement in their community. And I think Meadow was alluding maybe to Miss Diana Rudisil earlier, because Diana has an impact on pretty much every student at Windsor Oaks and at North Bay Met. And if you ever watch the students talk to Diana, because I have, it's like they're talking to a family member that they know cares about them and will do anything to help them better their life. So Diana, I'm not surprised you got this. It's well deserved. I think you're an amazing person myself. We've had a chance to work together over quite a few things, and I'm always impressed with how much you care. Because that's, if there's a word to describe Diana, it's caring, at least for me. So Diana, congratulations. You think she has some support since the whole squad showed up, which I love? My work and I see that. I love it. Thank you for being here. Vital Reality was a cool event. Oh, I upsold kids all day long. Vital Reality, they didn't know what to deal with me, how to deal with me. I was a great salesman. So Vital Reality is you have kids come through. Essentially, they have to live life. They have to purchase a house, a car, all the things with having a certain budget. And our job, you know, some of us were there. Pete was there. Brian was there. I was there. Was to upsell them, to convince them to spend more than they actually had. And it was I got them getting so many nice decorations for their apartments and houses. It was a good time. Anyway, it's a learning experience. Rebel Credit Union puts it on, and it's just to teach these kids how to manage their money. And I love it. It's a great event. You know, and has a big role to play in this. But it was a good event. Fun times. Special Olympics, already kind of mentioned by our trustees. Always a great event. One of my favorites. I think we've got to give a shout out to Guy Fieri Foundation and our culinary students for providing all the food for the participants. I mean, they do that free of charge, right? And our student volunteers were always a great help there. You know, our student volunteers run with the Special Olympic athletes. They're really on top of things. They really show their maturity at this event every single year. So great event. Some more pictures. You can see them all cheering these guys on. Peaceful dedication. Kai, thanks for stealing my thunder. Appreciate it. But you've already said everything here. I think this was a very cool event. And Kai, you really kind of spearheaded this. This doesn't get done without you. So well done. There's a bunch of different languages. You didn't really go through all of them, I don't think. But on this peace pole that you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, it basically says, may peace prevail on earth. And it says it in English, Spanish, Pomo, sign language, and Braille. Also got to recognize Kristen Behrens from Cali. So she won, really, I should say, the 2024 Award for Educational Innovation in Elementary and Secondary Education from SSU. We submitted the application as the Cali Green Climate and Culture Program, but really that's the Cali Green Program for composting, recycling. Cali's always been a leader in this area, and we're finally being recognized for it. It also included our climate and culture assemblies and the Writing for Focus program. Paul Ringland's a wizard. We all know that. And I think that it's important to note he was recently nominee for the SCO's Classified Employee of the Year in the Technical Services category. And this district doesn't run without Paul. So, and Brad has told me that numerous times. So, Paul, thank you. So, Literacy Fellowship Program. This is something that is new. There were 250 applicants to get into this program. And what it is, it provides educators with training in structured, systematic, multisensory literacy instruction that is grounded in, read it for me, Kelly, the science of reading. See, we're here. So they're going to be trained in the science of reading, Orton Gillingham approach with students. And really what I want to mention is, here's our teachers that want to do this. They didn't have to, they volunteered to do it and they were chosen. So Maddie Washburn, we have Jarrett Lloyd, Allison Tucker, and Joanna Huey. And at Brooks, Paula Kearns, Catherine Mirabali, and Sherry Melchiori. That's missing an I. National Bike to School Day. So our bike train at Brooks was featured in the Press Democrat with our awesome SRO, JP Tamayo, and his son. So thanks to everybody who participated in this event. And someone's here. Did you win something?
Oh, look at that.
Oh, weird. So weird. So one of our own, Taylor Boyce, wins Large School Girls Athlete of the Year from the Press Democrat. So let's just give that up first. Coach wins Coach of the Year. We win Athlete of the Year. I mean, how much better can we get? So Taylor's a volleyball player, first Windsor player to be named to the ABCA All-American Regional Team, two-time North Bay League Oak Division MVP, named to the Sonoma Valley All-Tournament Team twice. I already told you he was named Player of the Year for volleyball. Also featured in volleyballmag.com as a Dream Team player. And where are you going to college?
Lewis Clark State in Idaho.
Love it. Give it up. Big deal. You know, some sobering news. Sad to announce the passing of one of our longtime food service leads, Valerie Burns, served with distinction for 26 and a half years. She passed away May 7th following an illness. Val's husband and daughter shared that she adored her coworkers and especially loved working with the student workers. She also loved participating in things like Spirit Days and dressing up for holidays. She was also part of a group called the Lunch Ladies, who auditioned for America's Got Talent. She and a group of other food service workers performed a rousing dance rendition of Sir Mix-a-Lot's Baby Got Back. How that didn't make it to the finals, we'll never know. The family wanted to let you guys know there will be a celebration of life for Val on June 1st at Coffee Park from 11 to 4. And it's a drop-in event and all are welcome. And Chief Rosh is retiring. We didn't know this was happening. This was a surprise to us, but I think just want to give a shout out to Chief Mike Rosh. He's been a great partner to the district. He's very much a chief who cares about kids. And you know, all chiefs have their own strengths, but he's really a big ally for us, and he participates in some of our events. He rides his bike to school with the kids. He's been a great guy, so I'd just like to wish him all the best. Oh, and there's a special presentation. Can I please invite up Van Pelt? So this is Mark Van Pelt. I met Mark Van Pelt my very first year as superintendent. He was the CM on the job in Cloverdale, so I've known him for 11 years now, and he's got something. That's right. I had hair then.
I didn't say that.
Like to announce something.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Tonight's the kind of night, it's the reason I've been building schools for 44 years and I still don't want to retire. This is amazing. When I first started coming to Sonoma County, we were doing the construction at Healdsburg Unified. I was actually the construction manager there. Tonight, my team, Brian and Aaron, they work in your district. They're responsible for all your construction. I'm the founder and owner of the company that they work for. They're part of my team. So anyway, I used to come to the board meetings in Healdsburg every night, and there was a student board member there that night. And his name was Mike McGuire. And now Mike is a senator, state senator. And that's when I first started looking at student board members and how impressed I am with them. You know, you guys take your time, not school time, but your time to do what you're doing tonight and every night and everything you've done. So years ago, we started doing a scholarship for student board members. At first, we had a rule that you had to have perfect attendance. That went out the window first year. Most student board members come to every board meeting. It's not a problem. When you volunteer, it's for real. And I've never been so impressed with the kids I've met over the last 28 years that we've been doing the construction management. So since then, every year we give a scholarship out to student board members. And tonight I'm happy to give you each a check for $1,000. And you can use this money for whatever you want as long as it's related to college. And I'm a dad, my kids both went to college, and I know that first Target run as a parent, this would come in handy. So you guys can do it.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
You guys want to go down and get a picture with Mike? Yeah.
Okay. It's taken 35 more years. You guys will be on the happy trail.
A little bit worried. But you get right into it. There you go.
Thank you. Oh. All right, let's see where are we?
Wave your people, Meadow, off they go.
Oh.
Oh, my people.
People.
Thank you. All right, Jeremy, does that conclude your report?
That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. That's going to be a hard act to follow, but let's go to Board of Trustees report. Does anybody have,
Association.
did I miss something else? Or, no, that's later.
Oh,
Yeah,
we
that's later.
finished?
Yeah. Board of Trustees.
I'll keep it short.
Oh, God. Austin, just say you're welcome.
What did you want again?
You know, I just have to ask or say, sometimes you guys watch us talk amongst ourselves up here. Stephanie asked, do you ever get tired of winning? To which I said, no. I do want to say this, though. Our principal, Danielle Buckman, at the little meeting before the meeting, she came up to me and she said, I'm coming for you next year. Just know, I know you get 3 ringers. She goes, I'm going to get 3 ringers too. The difference is you're the 4th and I'm going to be their 4th. So I think I'm going to have to practice now. I'm hoping. Anyhow, thanks. It was a lot of fun and everybody should come again next year. And Jeff, now that you're retired, your score should go up at least 1. So.
All right, anything else? Paul, Stephanie? No? Bill?
I would only make a couple comments on next week on Thursday, sort of apropos to leadership. The high school leadership is getting together with the middle school and other schools at the town green from 10 to 12 for junior JAGGY leadership. Again, that's May 22nd. The Windsor High School is having an outdoor concert in the quad, which is always fun, on Thursday night, the 23rd at 6. And for those of you of a patriotic bent, or if you have or know veterans, at Maddie Washburn at 9 o'clock on Friday, the 31st, they're having their annual patriotic assembly, which is something not to miss. And we will be looking forward to 19 graduation ceremonies and dinners and things. And in all seriousness, I mean, we've had a lot of people come and go, and I'm sorry they retired. Thank you for another good year. It just is extraordinary to me. How many plates we have spinning on sticks in the 3-ring circus, and, you know, our 500 staff, about half teachers and half classified, that keep the ship afloat. And, you know, 2 students here and Taylor, you know, our 5,000-ish sort of students that lead the way. And so thank you. I know having students who went through the district, it is never easy, and it's because you try and do the right thing most of the time, and it works out usually for people. It certainly is our experience as the district leaders. And for the people at the principals, the sites, and the folks here at the table, we don't say it enough, but thanks a lot.
Thank you. All right, so it looks like there are no other reports, and I did have a couple of items that I wanted to discuss. So I feel that this evening has been such a wonderful evening of celebration of our teachers and retirees and our student board members. But one of the reasons why we're up here on the board is also to talk about, you know, the difficult topics. And I wanted to go back to a point that Kai addressed earlier, which is about how our Latino students, you know, sometimes are segregated. And this is a subject that I happen to research a lot because I'm also a professor at Sonoma State University, and it's a topic that I teach about. And I just want to say that Latinos face many different challenges in the US, and amongst those challenges are racial discrimination and housing segregation. And the racial discrimination especially extends to industry. So for example, in the health industry, they face a lot of discrimination. In our educational systems, they face a lot of discrimination. And oftentimes, I believe that it becomes a false equivalent when Latinos are living in low-income neighborhoods, or maybe they're underperforming in schools. It makes it seem as if there's something that has gone wrong with them personally, and that somehow they are subpar in performing in comparison to our other students. And I just wanted to talk about how their positionality, it has been made that way based on the racial discrimination that they suffer. And the beautiful thing about Latinos and the Latino community is that even in spite of the racial discrimination, that they're able to build what I like to call communities of healing, which means that they often collaborate and cooperate with each other in order to design their own resources when they face lack of resources. So this, you know, Latinos maybe sometimes being separated into their own community is a double-edged sword, right? Because on the one hand, it's because of racial discrimination, but on the other hand, it's also, you know, once again, because they have been put into a position where they have to design their own resources, and they come together to share in order to do so, right? In order to help each other out, right? So I just wanted to mention that because I feel it's important to not stereotype Latinos, to not discriminate against them, to understand that if they are underperforming, oftentimes it's because they don't have the resources that they need. And also, you know, sometimes it appears, and I have heard comments, and there's a lot of research about how they're perceived as being less intelligent. But, you know, once again, a lot of it has to do with their experiences with racism and also just having and forced to design their own resources. So I just wanted to mention that because I believe that that goes back to your point about why we see this, you know, segregation in the cores. But I do absolutely think that your insight is so well taken and beautiful because, you know, at the same time, Latinos do need to be encouraged, you know, to try different things, you know, to not just follow the crowd, right? So that was a very complex idea, you know, so welcome to my lecture today. The next item I wanted to talk about is that this semester I was given a scholarship at Sonoma State University to take a class in artificial intelligence along with some of my other colleagues at the school. And I learned so much, but I just wanted to take the small nugget of information that I felt was the most important, and that is that there's a fine line in using artificial intelligence where, you know, students, you know, can be considered cheating versus using it in a useful way. And I believe that one of the things that we could really focus on in this board is understanding and studying how artificial intelligence can be used by our students in ways that are conducive and positive to their learning. So there's, you know, one use where it's more like cheating, but other uses where it can be very conducive, such as, for example, designing their own research and fact checking, and then, you know, using, for example, ChatGPT or other types of AI in order to improve or strengthen, you know, projects that they could be working on. But to understand that part of the learning, you know, that is very valuable is making sure that at least half of it is of their own, you know, original creative research, but maybe half of it is, you know, being assisted by AI. So I just wanted to share that negative information, but I hope that we have more discussions about AI in the future and what will be acceptable in our school district and what will not be acceptable. I believe that we will need some policies eventually about that. So that is all I wanted to mention. Okay. So if there's no other discussion on the Board of Trustees report item, then we'll move along to staff association reports.
Good evening, Jeff Hardy, WDA President. I'm going to put my union hat on now. Take it back off. Thank you so much for the retirement stuff. It was a beautiful evening and everything and what's going on. Union hat back on now. All right. As you know, this is my last address to the board, and you know I have to make it a doozy. All right. When I addressed the board last October, my theme was priorities. This time it's investment. Teachers are not the enemy. Fighting for fair and respectful working conditions is not something teachers are doing to the district. It's something they are doing for our families. Teachers are working later, managing larger student loads that are becoming increasingly more difficult and dangerous than ever, and attending more meetings. We recently received news that teachers will be once again making less money next year than we are this year due to the rising price of benefits, as high as 13%, and falling solely on the backs of the employees. We have seen this year disproportionate increases in administrative pay and more administrative positions and support staff to share their workload. There have been claims that WUSD is now has the largest compensation package, which is simply not true within the county. Without considering the toll of the students' equity, teacher performance, and the mental health of all stakeholders, administrators have openly acknowledged that class sizes are being packed since compensation that has not been increased in 25 years costs the district pennies. I can't walk away from this lecture without addressing it. The single best way to invest in our student is to invest in our teachers. Investment, my friends. Finally, and I say this from the bottom of my heart, I wish only the best for the students of this district, teachers, administration, the board members, the classified. Thank you so much. I've been honored to serve this year for all my members, my friends, and that's all I have to say. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate you. You know that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Union hat off.
All right, so next up is item 3.10, approval of minutes from April 18th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from April 18th.
I'll
Thank you.
second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? No? Okay, so it looks like that passes. So next up is, again, our Pete Sullivan staff recognitions.
Good evening again. We are a celebrating district tonight, and I want to thank Annette for her brevity in her celebration. It's concise and still celebratory. So these celebrations will take place in August on campuses. So this is the last of this year. Obviously, we're not going to meet in June, so you will get invitations to this celebration in August. And the first is the classified staff member of the month, which is Renee Rodriguez. And her words, Renee is the heartbeat of our school, ensuring things are flowing and running smoothly. He quickly fixes anything that comes up. He knows every nook and cranny on the site and is creative with resources before requesting any new purchases. Most enjoyable is sense of humor. Staff and students love him. And I will put in the plug, his campus is so clean. It's amazing. When I go there, I'm always in awe of how clean he keeps that place. And for certificated, Robin Hale, who is an intervention teacher. Robin is a critical member of the MTSS coordinated services team, working closely with site admin, dean of students, school counselor to identify and implement interventions to support student success. She coordinates and facilitates our student study team process with professionalism and compassion. She is a go-getter, taking the initiative on new projects with enthusiasm and ownership. She is much appreciated by staff, students, and families. So thanks to them. Yes, sir.
Just for a reminder of the board, I was looking at my calendar on May 29th, Wednesday at 8 is the high school recognitions, I believe. Is that still on? That they're coming?
I see it.
Definitely
Yeah,
think
8 o'clock.
so.
Yes.
Super.
Yep. That's the catch up. That's
Yeah,
the one we
that
skipped.
rescheduled. Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Good.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll do consent. All right, moving on to our consent action items. We are going to consider items 4.1 through 4.9 first, and then we'll move to 4.10 with discussion. So are there any recusals from 4.1 to 4.9 or does anyone want to pull any items for discussion? Okay, I'll make the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on to 4.10. We're pulling this for discussion. I'll go ahead and make the motion. Can I get a second prior to discussion?
I'll second.
Thank you. And let's discuss. So this item.
Well, I was the one who asked
Right.
for it to be able to discuss. You know, we're talking about with, large expenditures and, with the teachers saying they, need more money and whatnot. I saw $113,000 for a food service truck. And it just kind of jumped out. And then I'm going to actually have you, Jeremy, explain, how this was funded and because it makes more sense when you explain it.
And this is Austin's department. He'll do a better job than me, so I'll even kick it over to
I'll
him.
have Austin explain.
Yep. So this item that's for consideration tonight is obviously a food truck. The why behind why we're bringing this to the board is last board meeting, you guys got the food service presentation. And one of the things we went over was how food services is funded differently, right? So they receive a reimbursement based off their meals. That pot of money is so strictly seen after by not just federal and state and local, but I'll give you an idea. We can only use that money within the actual food service area. So like I've tried to use it for lunch tables within the cafeteria, not allowed because it's not an actual food service serving area. So when we're talking about, Jen having frankly too much money, she's generating a lot of money, and that's through participation from healthier meals, students wanting to purchase more meals, things like that. We try to figure out a way to utilize that money for future investments, right? Or how to tie it back to the education. So one of the areas that when we were kind of brainstorming on what are some ways that we could invest some of this excess money that we have to, within food service, but also affects the kids long-term, right? And one of the ideas that kind of rose up was the idea of a food truck, because we know right now we have behavior issues at different sites. That's an area that we've seen that we could do better at. And so I said, well, let's run it by the principals mainly at those sites that it would affect. And one of the things that got brought up that was apparent was the food that's being served at Cali in the middle school. The Cali doesn't have as many options as the middle school. So the middle school has a lot of options for food. Cali doesn't, and that's because of their schedule. It's very tight. And then not only that, they have to walk all the way from the middle school down to the eating area. So I said, well, let's explore this food truck idea, right? So we kind of went down the road of exploring the food truck and, thought maybe we bring this food truck up to the middle school campus. And then we could use it as a way to help serve more options to those middle schoolers. Because right now our middle school participation there is not great, just because they don't want to walk all the way down there. So as we started looking into it, several of the principals loved it and said, well, we could start utilizing that for, positive behavior barbecue. Brainstorming started to go wild. So I said, well, I think this is worth the investment. Let's start looking at different options, because the first option that came back was this one. And I said, well, that's a lot of money. So let's start getting different bids, right? And then we slowly realized that, and the response to me was, well, this is really the only company that does it. And I said, well, you got to figure out other companies. So we got 4 or 5 bids, vans, not just food trucks, things like that. But when you started looking at everything that was needed, cold boxes with ice plates, heated food cabinets, food warmers, food, heated bags for sides like tortillas and things like that. When you needed special shelving for speed lines, the like special refrigerated pans that have, the cooling gels in it. When you started looking at everything, it became apparent that there was really only 3 or 4 options. And this was actually the cheapest one and the one that required the least amount of initial investment in terms of infrastructure. Because that was the other thing, is some of these required a lot of energy to upkeep. So putting those we didn't want to have to dig down and have to tie up power lines and things like that in the maintenance yard. That would have just blown this project out of the water. So we said, well, this is the way to go. So we ended up with this.
And I just want to reiterate that this food funding or the food services funding is super restricted, right? So we couldn't put it towards teacher salaries if we wanted to, for instance. It has to be spent on these very specific things. And part of the reason we have so much of this super restricted funding is because our food services team and their leader is so good at generating revenue. Right. So kind of makes sense to put it back in to that. I mean, we can only put it back in, if you have it, and I think the use is actually pretty brilliant. Right. Having a child who's at Cali now and who doesn't eat all day, you know.
And the thing too, Stephanie, to keep in mind is by this investment, the hope, right, is that there's more participation, which creates more revenue.
Absolutely.
But when we first started this, I think 3 years ago, when we dove into food services, like for instance, tonight we recognized Valerie Burns. Valerie was actually the food service director before Jen. She was the interim that I hired in between Anne Marie and Jen. And one of the things that she and I looked at was actually the budget. And at the time we had a $150,000 deficit that was coming out of the general fund. So that, when we talk about teacher salaries and health and welfare go up, we want the food service program to be operating in the black, not deficit. Otherwise that does have to come from, teachers. But so of course, you know, Valerie had ideas, and then Jen Baker, and then now we have such a surplus that we haven't been able to take, we haven't needed to. So, yeah.
I just had another question. So it says you'll have to hire a driver. Would that also come out of food services?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So,
Go ahead.
Nope, I was just gonna
It's-
ask.
It's funny that I had some people poke fun at me about getting that food van. And I said, well, I hadn't even read it yet. And so I was going through the stuff. And so I had a couple questions. Is it electric because it needs to have the batteries in there to keep the stuff either warm or cold? Or is it something, anyhow?
No, you're right.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. So like
Part of the,
that was part of it, because we actually looked at a diesel, and there were pros and cons to the diesel, but the main con was you would then have to hook it up to electricity somewhere on the campus, and then now you have a extension cord running, and it's just messy. And so it just made it, and if it's going to go between sites, you know, it's just easier to have it be the battery pack. And actually the diesel truck was the most expensive option. And so that's.
And so is the battery, or is it coming equipped with enough battery storage so it can drive around our district and keep everything warms up and then be recharged in the evening?
Yeah. So
so we don't have to use the battery to get to the school, then we got to plug it in at the school?
Correct. So it'll actually stay at the maintenance yard, completely charge overnight, then go to the school that it's going to. Yep.
Got it.
And it has enough battery storage for it.
And while I think you've answered it, but just once again, so people, if they came in late, I might not normally buy this if it wasn't coming from funds that are so specific and so narrowly
absolutely
there that if we don't spend it on this, we have nothing to really spend kind of it on.
100%.
So
absolutely, completely agree.
Thank you for finding that very sliverish.
Yeah. Trust me, we wish we could spend this money for, I'll be honest, we wish we could spend it for a lot of other things. But you know, yeah, he tries.
Can we let one of our new student board trustees use it to bake some of those awesome cinnamon rolls?
The baker.
We got a volunteer.
If you have a public comment, come up to the front, because I know, but you do have to, because the only way to hear you if people are watching remotely is through the microphone. Otherwise, it won't pick up your voice.
No, my comment is that I also have a child at Cali who doesn't eat all day, and she would appreciate some good food or another option.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Yes, we have one more.
All right, just be a little devil's advocate here. Have you all eaten in the cafeterias?
Yes.
Actually, at our last meeting, they brought us the cafeteria food.
Oh, okay.
And we
I mean,
ate
on
it.
a normal day, not like this, because I know that
It's
if
the
the
same
money
food.
is intended to buy quality food, I'd love to see it go toward the quality of the food. I'm lucky if my kids don't like what's on the menu, I can afford to pack them a lunch. But we've got a lot of food insecurity in this area. And we've got a lot of kids who come from food insecure homes. And if there's this extra money, it would be so nice if that went to feeding kids. Just wanted to say that. Just thought I should throw that out there.
Thank you. That's a good comment.
So do we have a response to that comment from staff?
Yeah, were you by chance at the last board meeting or no?
I was having an emergency operation.
Nope,
So
you're all
what
good.
I missed.
You're all good. You're all good. Because you're
You have two kids who,
at Brooks, yeah. No, I was just asking because I know you're been coming to them. No, we've actually partnered with the Redwood Empire Food Bank, and then we had share carts as well. And we kind of went over the food service program at the last one. So one of the things that we've been focusing on the last 2 years, and again, why it's not all about money, but why revenues are so much higher and why participation's up in the food service program is because we've hit on speed scratch cooking, which is basically we need to be able to make a lot of meals, but make it fresh as well with ingredients that aren't just microwaved or in an oven. That's been a change in the last 2 years. 2 years ago, there were no microwave or there was all microwave or ovened meals, right? It was all pizza, it was all Hot Pockets. Now, I mean, we have a salad bar at the high school. We have different options that are just more, if you want to call it fresh, more local. We get our bread from Christo's, right? So we're trying to go down the route of the more scratch cooking option with getting local ingredients. And then on top of that, from the flip side, if there's leftover food, we've now invested in these share tables, which keeps the food fresh to where kids can now, if they're still hungry, they can go and grab it, right? Because we have to abide by certain standards when we give them how much food and how much sodium and salt and all that stuff that makes it taste good. But they can still go and get more food from those share carts, so if other kids don't eat it, it can go there. And then what's left over from there, then we donate to Redwood Empire Food Bank. So giving it right back to the community, So
Austin, I missed the last meeting, unfortunately, and I was wondering, what are some of the options right now at Cali for food?
So actually what's cool is if you go on the website, it will show you the entire menu for the month. And you can click on any of those. It'll show you like all the items that are being offered. Then if you click on any of the items, it'll also show you the nutritional breakdown. A lot of people don't know that about our food service website.
I see. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yep. Cool. Thanks, Molly.
Yeah. I mean, this is an area I'm pretty passionate about, and which is why I'm kind of feeling a little bit like I need to respond to the comment because you missed the last meeting and you couldn't be here. But you've been here a lot. So I know you've seen kind of what we've been talking about, but that was one where, we taste we taste the different foods. They bring it from the cafeteria. They don't actually want us to come during the day. We have tried to do that. Yeah.
Here, let me help you out.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've been blessed to be able to do is, because I'm kind of passionate about this stuff too.
Well, and students are passionate about food. That when we do surveys of students, they feel cared about when they are fed. Those are responses that we get from students. So having good meals in schools is extremely important.
So coaching wrestling for all these years, I've always had the kids have to check their weight, right? So I have to go at lunchtime and open the door, and the multipurpose room is where our scales are. And so I have to open the door. So all the wrestler kids get to go. And over the many, many years, I've always got to smell the food that was being served for lunchtime, right? And when the kids would leave, well, I'm not cutting weight, obviously. So I would go sample the goods and I'd get in line and I'd pay for whatever. Anyhow, I can just, everybody at home listening, you would love to eat the food in our schools. I love the food that we serve in our schools. And I eat some of the food in the schools that my wife cooks for me, and I don't even eat that. So the salad bar is crazy good. It's high quality, really good stuff. I'm not surprised that we're making money because it's what the kids want. And we're not having, so anyhow, it's really good stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I just also want to say, kudos to Austin, and then thank you, Paul, for prompting this discussion. Yeah, did you want to say something, Stephanie?
I was just going to ask if there's any more discussion, public comments, and then call a vote. Okay.
Yeah, I think there's been a couple misstatements made that we are not restricted from coming. You can go eat breakfast. We get breakfast and lunch for every kid at every school. You can go and eat breakfast at the schools. You can go and eat lunch. I've eaten lunch at every school. So usually coordinate it with the principal, but they will encourage you to come and they'd love to see you walk around. You can walk fast enough to keep up with Principal West. Yeah, I think that's important. We're reprising things of a meeting where many of these issues were answered. And I would urge us to take a vote on the matter that's before us.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bill. Sure. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right? Moving on.
All right.
You're going to stand up for pockets?
So up next is item 5.1, bond survey results presented by Superintendent Decker.
And this will actually be presented by ISOM advisors, and I work with Greg. And please tell me your name again. Brian. Brian will actually be doing the presentation of the survey results.
Good morning, board, or evening. I thought everyone was here to hear the bond survey, but apparently everybody left. So, okay, so format here, I'm in for Greg Isom with Isom Advisors. He apologized that he wasn't able to make it tonight. This is go over the survey that was done. This is similar to what happened in 2015. There was a survey that was done for the election that happened in November of 16. I think some of you were on the board at that time as well. Did anybody here actually get the survey out of curiosity? You got the survey? How was it? Just out of curiosity. Like, you can give a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Okay, perfect. I'm always curious on that, how it's received from people in the community. So also in this, we can make it a discussion in my presentation here. So if you have questions, it's a lot easier just to answer them right then and there, unless it's something I'm going to cover in a couple pages, and I'll tell you to kindly wait. So, so we did a survey. It was done. Okay, we got on. Great. It was done April 10th through the 15th. To assess the feasibility of doing a bond measure in the upcoming election. It was to test the attitudes regarding the district for projects, tax tolerances, and the possibilities of doing a school facility improvement bond program. We reached 248 households resulting in a plus or minus margin of error about 6%. We would have liked to have gotten to 400 because that's kind of the standard that gives you about a plus or minus 5%. But over time, less people are picking up their phones these days. They don't know the number. So it's something we've seen kind of across the board with surveys in general. So moving on to the next one. And these questions, for the most part, were sequential in the asking, except for the second one here, which is if you have any connection with the district with children and grandchildren, as I was asked at the very end. But, first question, opinion on how education in California is going. 41% said in the right direction, 51% said in the wrong direction. And I'm going to throw in just kind of tidbits from the 2015 survey. I've jotted down some notes. And so the 2015 survey had a 34% in the right direction. So as a whole, from the people that were interviewed or that took the survey, they feel like the state as a whole is going in a better direction. So that's good. The question if any connection with the district, it's at 50% no or never, referring to kids or grandkids or whatnot. In 2015, that was 41%. So the people that actually took the survey, a little bit less connection, personal connection than when the survey was done roughly about 10 years ago. And then how would you rate the quality of education provided by Windsor Unified School District? 21% said excellent, 48% said good. So, way more than the majority of the people that were spoken to think it's good or excellent. And that's consistent with what was said in 2015. Question?
Brian, that's a big disconnect from the state opinion. What is that typical where their local community would be thought higher than those people in the state in Sacramento? It's just, it's not a few points off. I mean, if we even take credit for some fair, it's 69% excellent and good locally, and then, 90% altogether. It just seems unusual.
I would say that that's somewhat typical. Okay. There's a little bit of disconnect because Sacramento is a little bit larger and a little bit further away, unless you're in Sacramento. But as far as like the district though, it usually comes out a little bit better unless there's something going on in the district that some sort of scandal or some sort of bad press or something, some perception of the district, then you'll see these numbers much lower. And so oftentimes in these situations, it's not so much the positive, but the lack of negative.
Okay, thank you.
In these situations. All right, general questions for voter support of the actual district here. And so the teachers and the principals are roughly about the same place they were in 2015, which is great. And, Jeremy and Austin, you'll appreciate this, and the board. The perception is better now than it was in 2015 for how the superintendent is doing, how the finances are being managed, and the board as well. It's not a ton better, but it is better than where it was in 2015. So I think that's a great, a good thing in the perspective of the voters, in the perception of the district is doing things well. Next slide. Some other generic questions here of do good schools improve property value? 90% agreed with that statement, consistent with it in 2015. And then the next question, because the state hasn't provided adequate facility funding for schools, local voters need to do more to protect the quality of education and maintain classes and facilities. 69% agreed with that statement, showing that the voters here in the community do support funding of the district for their facilities here. And that's actually a couple percentage points off from what it was in 2015, but still very, very strong. So then we get to the actual question. So we haven't really, in the survey, we hadn't talked at this point in time anything about what the projects are or what the prices are. We kind of give them a statement here at the beginning, and then we follow up at the end with the same statement after education is involved to see if the perspective changes any from the beginning to the end. And I'm going to read both of these just verbatim here. And just as a reminder, the vote for a bond measure is 55% of those that vote need to vote yes for it to be approved. So this is the question that was read. At this time, Windsor Unified School District is looking to make classroom and school facility improvements and is considering placing a school improvement bond measure before voters in your community on an upcoming ballot. Let me read you the proposed measure. To improve the quality of education, upgrade, renovate, and modernize outdated classrooms, restrooms, and school facilities. Make health, safety, and security improvements, and upgrade science labs. Shall Windsor Unified School District measure be adopted authorizing $114.4 million of bonds with legal rates raising on average $7.1 million per year until repaid at approximately 6 cents per $100 of assessed value, with annual audits, independent oversight, no money for salaries, and all money staying local. So that's the bond language as it sits at the moment time for the survey. And out of the gate, 58% said yes, they would support that, with 35% saying no, and then a mix there in between the two. When we look at the survey from 2015, the ask in the survey was for $74 million. And they said 53% at that time were voting yes, so 5% higher at this point in time from those that were surveyed. So it's pretty in line with where the district was on the survey in 2015, which is a positive thing. Any questions so far? Okay, I know this is not as exciting. I don't have any music or images up there. They're dancing like Jeremy had, but it's necessary. So the projects that were read, they weren't in any particular order when they were read. They're listed here in order of support, most support to least support, going down here. And all of these that are listed here on this page received above 70% approval of support. And so repairing or replace leaky roofs, health, safety, and security improvements, modernize, renovate outdated classrooms, restrooms, and facilities, improve student access to computers and technology. And the bottom one here, improve preschool access through for students through the construction of classrooms. The next page also received support, not as much as those first 6 there, but all of them were still above 60%, showing support. And then the last 2 there at the bottom is the same question, just asked differently. And you see a little bit of a different response when being referred to PE fields and facilities for schools as opposed to athletic fields and facilities for schools. And so there's a little bit more support when it's referring to PE fields as opposed to just athletic fields. Okay, and as we see, and this is fairly typical, when you talk about the projects, you see more voter support. When you talk about who's paying for it, you see a little bit less support. And so there are 3 different tax. So the maximum that you can levy for a unified school district is $60 per $100,000 of assessed value. That's the max you can do, but you can always do less than that. And so when asked the $60 question, it came out at 43% were likely to support. When the question was dropped to $50 per $100,000 of assessed value, that rose to 45%. And then we looked at $45, it rose to 52%. And so there is some tax sensitivity with those that were surveyed during the process here with how much would be being levied. Questions? Okay. So then we asked the same question again with the ballot measure. So the one on the right is the pre-education, the one on the left is afterwards. And so we did see a little pullback on support from 58.1% to 56%. Both of those are still higher than what it was in 2015 for the support. And so it requires a 55%. So the district is right on the edge there and could be affected by a plus or minus of margin of error. And then I'm going to talk about this here in just a moment, but this is where it's key and critical for the board and those all that are involved in talking with those in the community and the key stakeholders in the community in getting their buy-in and support.
Can I ask one thing of you? So would it be fair to state that this is what we could expect with the, plus or minus the percentage points if we didn't do anything? No campaigning. This was just, we put it out there and voters took action. Is that fair to say? And then campaigning and things could potentially help or harm depending on how you campaign based on these numbers.
Yes, and that would be a very fair assessment. And to back that up, in 2016, when the district did have their election, it was approved at a 62% approval rate when their survey was bringing them in at about 56%. So, and I know that they did a pretty significant campaign in 2016, and I think that showed in the final results.
So since we're comparing the 2016 to when you guys did the survey in 16, do you know if you did it the week right before everyone's taxes are due?
That's actually, it's kind of a funny question. I think it's a valid question.
Oh, no, it's
no, I know, totally fair. That is a great question, and I don't know the answer to that. I can look into it and I can figure that out and get it back to Jeremy, to you.
Because I promise you, out of the 52 weeks of the year, that particular week is probably when most people that are benevolent are maybe a little bit less. So if we have that good of support during that week, I think our plus or minus is probably plus maybe more than the 6.
I would agree.
In other words, that's how confident I am about putting the bond on the ballot, because I'm sure that if that's kind of our floor, and in our community too, I think more so than maybe others, people understand that a good facility and a good place for our kids to be, to learn, is really critical. Doesn't matter if you chip in a little bit on your taxes or you chip in a lot, whatever your basis is. That is kind of the one area where I think most people think, hey, if we're going to tax ourselves, that's the one place to do it for our kids. So anyhow, I was just curious if we
And one of the other things
asked at that same time frame.
to that, and I mean, it's a great comment on the timing of that. Another comment on these surveys, and we found them surprisingly still being fairly accurate over the years, even with less people, more people having cell phones and less people picking up. But typically it's a little bit more of a conservative group that actually is reached in doing these surveys, because you think about who has landlines. It's usually your older, more potentially retired community that still has a landline that still actually picks up if they don't have a caller ID.
I did have one follow-up on when you have the choice between the 60, the 50, or the 45. Is that just relevant to how long the bond would be in place, or the amount of the bond?
It's the amount of the bond.
So the bond is going to be for how long a period of time? 30 years?
They're typically 30 years. They're typically layered. So usually they're done in usually maybe 3 tranches of Series 1, Series 2, Series 3. It's layered in as your property value goes up. It gives you that space to be able to levy that amount.
Sure.
Because you wouldn't be able to levy all that amount, that total amount right away. So it's usually layered, but you have to stay with this measure. You have to stay within whatever you set as your limit. So if it's the maximum limit of $60 per $100,000, it's based on whatever your assessed value is of your home.
Sure.
Right? Not your market value. Your market value might be $1 million. Your assessed value might be $200,000. And so then you pay, it would be $120 if your home was assessed at $200,000.
Right.
But if you end up levying a $45 tax, then
be $150.
You'd be $90 for $200,000.
No, it'd be on $200,000.
On a $200,000.
I'm sorry. If it's 120, you're right. Never mind. I was going the wrong way.
I have a couple of questions
Took
as well.
5 years and I finally messed one up.
Totally fair.
It was such a small number. That's where I was screwing up.
Can you go back to the slide where it has all of the different types of funding? Yes. Wait, no, was it that one?
The tax rates or the projects?
The projects.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was maybe the one before this.
So there's 2 pages of the project. There's page 7 and page 8. Page 7, everything on this slide is looking at above 70% support.
Okay. Yeah, it might be page 8. So my question, yes, this is it. My question is, if this goes on the ballot, it just would have a simple statement that when people say yes or no, or does it actually have this breakdown of how, the money could potentially be spent? So I'm just wondering if this will be listed.
So you're limited on how many words you can use on your on the measure put onto the ballot. So the original one that I read verbatim, that is very legalese,
Yeah.
that's all you get.
Right, so you get none of this other information of how the money could be spent?
Right. So this is to kind of direct the type of things that are put into that section of what the voters want,
Right.
what they're willing to support. And that's really what the survey is all about, is are the voters willing to support the district in doing this? And what do they want to support them for in doing this?
I see.
And
Okay.
so this is to help guide the district and the board on navigating where to spend the money and how much to spend, basically saying, okay, well, they're very supportive of this, they're less supportive of this. So let's focus on this because they're willing to support that.
And then I have one more question, is I was wondering if you see, in your expertise, if you see an advantage in having it in the spring election versus the fall election?
Yes, I don't have that broken down with me, but we do that analysis, and I'm sure we did that analysis back before we did the survey, where it's breakdowns of your voters that always vote, which is usually they're in all of your elections, but it's usually your primary election in March, are those voters. And then you have your kind of your popular elections, which are your presidential elections. So maybe voters that only come out during a presidential election, how they tend to sway typically. And like I said, I'm sure we have this. I don't have it with us. But typically your voters that only come out during like kind of a presidential election are more supportive of school districts. Typically those that that come out for every election are very consistent in it. Sometimes are a little bit more on the conservative side and are a little bit less supportive of doing more measures for anything, even if they believe in the schools, right? There's a little more less supportive. It depends on the community. And we would have to pull up that information. I'm pretty sure we did that. I just don't have it with me.
I did talk to Greg about this.
Okay.
I can't quantify this. I don't have the numbers, but essentially in the way Greg says it, he said, you would never go for an April election in Windsor. You would always go for November. I don't know why. I'm sure he's run the numbers, but essentially he said November is what your community would go.
And that would be why. If Greg made that statement, it's because those that come out for presidential elections have shown historically they're willing to support bond measures with school districts.
I had a couple of comments. Not one, the property tax increase would hit the homeowners in this district for at least $300, maybe up as high as $400, $500 a month. I mean, a year on their property taxes. And I think people in general are taxed a lot. And to see every year, I look at my property tax bill and it goes up and up and up and up. And here we're asking for another 400, 300, whatever it might be. All I'm saying is this is a cautionary tale. You have a margin of error only of 6.18 on your survey. So this is by no means a slam dunk. I mean, you would definitely have to do some work to convince people to pass it. And I'm just saying that as a cautionary tale. If you want to spend money on a campaigning for this or doing this, that there's a good chance it may not pass. I'm just throwing that out there.
I have a question.
And Paul, I'm going to follow up on that.
Oh, okay.
And the next slide. Stephanie, go ahead.
Sure. Jeremy, I think you mentioned that one of our bonds was maybe coming to a close, and so that's why can we talk a little bit about that? Because I think that might be an important point for people. Right.
Part of our campaign.
We can, but I'm not going to know the exact year without going through and finding in my notes. Do either of you know the exact year that it's almost there?
I was going to pull it up right now, but I just ran out of time. It's either this year or it's next year. It's one of the two. I am 85% sure that it's this year. But there is a 6% margin of error.
But thank you for that. That's a legitimate question.
I mean, I don't think anybody is thinking that there was a whole bunch of folks that helped campaign for this last time, right? And so I don't think anybody thinks that we wouldn't campaign for it. But again, and I'm kind of, this is just me. Because I coaching, I travel around to a lot of other schools. And I sure have noticed that there is seems to be a correlation between how well kept up a school is and then how much trouble that school seems to have added or not. And schools that continue to reinvest and maintain their facilities so that way the next group of kids that come through have just as nice a place as the people that preceded them, tend to have if they're a nicer place, they have less problems in the school and the kids seem to do a better job of learning. And so I think that is probably part of our campaigning, said, hey, we've got to make sure that we continue to keep and then reinvest. I mean, Jeff was talking earlier about investment, right? We also need to reinvest in maintaining and enhancing the facilities that we have, so that way the kids' experience when they come through is just as good and dynamic as the ones that preceded from them. So,
and just a reminder, you folks aren't taking any action on anything today. This is just an informational response of what the voters, the community responded to in the survey that happened. And so, obviously, as you folks move forward, we'll work with you on finding, should you decide to do it, what the appropriate tax rate would be that the voters are going to be supportive of, and the whole 9 yards. That's all part of the process here. Obviously, none of those decisions are being made tonight. But to your point, Rich, and the survey even states this, California doesn't do a great job of funding its facilities. They just don't. And it falls upon the community to do that. I mean, I've seen some facilities that are just, they have done a great job of maintaining them, but you can only put a Band-Aid on it for so many times before you just need to start it over, right? I mean, it's just a reality. You got a 100-year-old building that was maybe meant to last for 50 years. There's only so much you can do. And so in the survey, it says 69% of the voters believe there's more funding is needed, right? And so I'll just run through kind of some conclusions here and then some recommendations. And then
I have one last one.
Absolutely.
I shouldn't say it. Sorry, Meadow. I didn't mean last. I have one though. Let's say, because we have a lot of building that's going to be coming up in our school district. If we have $100 million worth of new assessed value that comes into our district, what does that do to our bond? So in other words, like right now, let's just say our bond, our assessed value, let's say in our school district, just to say it's $1 billion.
Right.
And then next year, 2 years from now, we now have some projects that were built, and now that assessed value is $1.1 billion.
Now it's on the books, right?
Right. It's on the books. It's built.
Yep.
It's now paying property tax. What does that do to the bond that was passed? Do we get extra revenue now for that?
No. So there's a couple of different factors here. So the state does cap you on how much debt you can levy based upon your assessed value at the time of the passage of the bond measure.
Mm-hmm.
So you're capped at a certain limit based on what your current assessed value is.
Okay.
Now, as your assessed value goes up, when the voters approve it, they approve it. You can't make any modifications or changes to that.
Don't have to pay off that.
So, but if the assessed value goes up, the individual will pay less. Right. So if they were paying $60 and that was the max, but all of a sudden the assessed value goes from $1 billion to $1.1 billion. Well, now you have more people that are paying that same set amount of the bond. So maybe they're paying $60. Now they're paying like $50.
So it would go down.
It would go down. Now, and that's partially, not to get into much of the nitty gritties of it, but like, that's why you set up different series, because you kind of build into your modeling, okay, we expect assessed value to go, maybe it goes up at a 5% rate here. We'd probably figure in something conservative like a 3% rate growth. So you can stagger those series of bonds because you have to wait for the room to grow so you can be able to issue those bonds. But once everything's issued and your assessed value continues to go up, then the rate of how much everyone's paying will go down. Will go down enough for someone to really notice? Probably not as much, just because it takes time. And, everything else is going up. And so it'll get offset probably in your taxes. At least it doesn't seem to go down in mine. But
thank you.
But it's a good question. But yes, it's baked into kind of your assumption that the community's assessed value will continue to grow. So you can issue those bonds. Any other questions?
I don't know if it's for you, Brian, or maybe for Austin. Thank you for the report and the recommendations. I think it's optimistic. I think we need it, and I think the community will support it with sales and a campaign, having worked on the one in 2016. We have to make a decision and get with the registrar of voters by the first week or so of August to get it on the November. So let's talk about, as we go between the third week of May and a time before our meeting in August, what would you envision would be the next times we see this, and when for action do we need to ask for more information? What happens these next 2.5 months?
Well, I'll get with Greg, which I've already talked to him today. We would discuss strategy potentially, so I could share what that strategy might be. And I've done that before, because in every single community, as you could have said this too, strategy changes. Right? In some communities, you just stay quiet. You open your mouth and you actually reduce how many people vote for your bond. Some places you have to campaign really hard. Some places you just don't mention athletics. It really just depends. So I would talk to Greg. I would figure out what that strategy is so I could share it with you. Because ultimately, if you're going to make the decision to move forward, you probably should know the strategy, right? I'd probably bring it back in June. July it's just a dead month for education, and we don't want to wait until August. We can't. So I would probably bring it back at the second meeting in June to give myself some time. I would also be reaching out to key players in our community to say, hey, would you support this? Because we need your voice. And we would know that information by the second meeting in June.
And to kind of that point, just kind of wrapping up for the kind of presentation here, it's our opinion that you folks should continue to move forward in reaching out to the community, your key stakeholders in the community. So Chamber of Commerce, the mayor, your union leaders, the Rotary Club, your prominent members of the community or businesses that, you folks are some of those people and you know who those people are, the Johnson family that's lived here for 5 generations, right? Like, who those people are. And if they're on board and are educated and on board, they're going to have a good influence on those around them to be supportive as well. And so I would say in between now and the June meeting, that's part of what Jeremy and his team will be doing, but also you folks as the board members to be doing as well, is to get in a pulse of support and helping educate so that people are on board. Because that's the key difference when you're talking, when you're looking at a support level of 50 to 60%, those are the differences that make those a winning campaign or not a winning campaign. So, any other questions?
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey.
All right, so next up we have Pete Sullivan and Jamie Williams.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll bring Jamie up in just a minute. In an effort to keep the board and the community aware of the amazing athletic programs and opportunities we offer in our district, Jamie is going to provide us tonight with an athletics update, which will also include a Title IX update. Jamie, take it away. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello. I'm Jamie Williams. I'll try to make this quick, although I did wait a long time to speak and you gave me a microphone.
You take as much time as you need, Jamie
Okay, well,
Williams.
someone has to go get ready for their pre-calc class. So,
That's not.
I did invite a few special guests with me today, but I'll call them up in a little bit. Thank you for having me. It's been a wonderful celebratory night and it's amazing to be here. This is my 6th year. It's flown by. Coming back next year. So I think if I finish next year, Gene Sanduina said that I can say that I beat him because he's done 6 years himself. Okay, so who's my slideshow person? Okay. We always like to talk a little bit about, before we get into our Title IX numbers and such, the accolades. And it resonated with me a little bit, Kai, when you mentioned not necessarily the accolades of the teams always winning, which we all love, especially Mr. Carnation and myself. But we also, I myself was a cross-country runner, played basketball too, but also track. And I think that sports like cross-country, sometimes track, badminton, esports even, some sports like that are not as highly profiled and recognized, but they draw so many young student athletes too. And they make such an impact, just like our other sports that get the accolades of a pennant, which badminton barely lost the opportunity at one game next year. But that's a huge impact to our community, just knowing that all of our sports have a purpose. Insofar as, you see some of the accomplishments right here on this slide. We have some national champions, some back-to-back league champions, our volleyball reps with me tonight, some back-to-back champions, our athletes and scholar athletes of the year. I want to mention that 23 out of the 25 varsity programs had an average of 3.0 or higher GPAs as a team. And that's pretty significant. I think that we don't talk about that enough. We have over 700 athletes on average every year that participate. And I think that that's close to, you'll see the numbers, close to 50% of our population. And that's a significant testimony to the engagement of what our students are doing on campus and outside of the classroom. Next slide, please. So this slide, a little bit of my intent was to just kind of reconnect you to what athletics and its platform does. Tonight, we saw a lot of teachers recognized for what they do in the classroom, and I don't want to take away from the platform of the classroom. We have board, student representatives, and this is a platform in itself for students to grow, mature, and build character, as you heard. But I think that it should be known that, and it's very obvious that sports from a little age, when we bring our kid to dance and gymnastics and throw them out there on the soccer field and they don't know what a ball is yet, but they see that color because they learned colors and they run to that flag. And I think that when you give students the opportunity to grow at where they are at and meet them there, that you create culture. And the culture at our school, has had the battle of the bands before our time, before my time at the high school and before your time probably at our high school. That was huge. I'd love to see that come back, but that's not my decision. I work with students and it's part of what they do. And I think that in itself, if you see the rallies, the Jag Bowls, the mountain bike club that formed because we had student interest, these things drive what we do and what we provide for our students. So sports is a huge part of that. Kids get together at football games. Kids get together at volleyball games. They go watch their friends play badminton matches. That's what happens when you make those connections. No, there's a second part to that. Nice try, Mr. Williams. That second part is your support. And we just heard about the bond. We heard about all these things. And I'm going to advocate here to all those people that said yes to PE and athletics. It's one in of itself. I'm a PE teacher and I'm the athletic director and I've coached many sports. And we share the facilities, the use, not just with our PE every day on the grass, on the turf, in the gyms, on the basketball court, on the wrestling mats, the cheer mats. They're being used like all year long. And it's that time where like the track needs redone, the grass has gopher holes, all those things. So you need to consider the community that comes in, our youth sports that uses our facilities over the summer throughout the year when it's pouring rain for 4 months. And we have the only turf field available in one high school town type of environment. I mean, we get a lot of attention to our community. It should be said that I really truly recognize and I'm passionate. You'll see me out at events connecting with our community because it is the doorstep to our school. They will care more about their kids and what they do in the classroom, a lot of these families, because their kid seems happy playing baseball or participating in their sport, whatever it may be. And those are the connections. That's why I see you guys out there. I see you at these events. You're building relationships with our community. We provide those experiences for all of us to do that. So please remember that last bullet point right there. That extension of the classroom, the first one and the last one. The students that I find that really need the platform of sports are the ones that's where they first found success and then they started struggling in the classroom. And those students are going to school still because they have that at the end of the day, because they made a friend. I had one of my teachers from the middle school to the high school, her first year. I'm not going to call out the sport or the kid. I'm just going to say that she made it a point to come and tell me, thank goodness he found this sport and those friends, because he didn't have that at the middle school. The middle school has great sports, but at the high school we have more, right? So he found the sport and the group that helped him connect, because all we want as parents is our kids to feel like they belong and that security. And I think that if you think about interventions and all the money we spend on all the interventions, it's pretty cheap. I won't go that far, but we pay our coaches more now than we've ever have in 15 plus years, but we're still 25 years. Thank you. We're still, our lower level coaches, the ones that first hit, our freshmen, make a lot less than our counterparts in Santa Rosa, and those are the families and the intervention. Those coaches wear hats of parents, they wear hats of counselors, psychologists, they're pretty cheap. for those roles, right? So I just want to advocate that you are putting money in a good place when you support athletics. Thank you. Can I please, oh, this is it, drum roll, my special guests. I want to please invite first Coach Kristen Hamilton. Please come on up and join me. You don't need a clap. She's been clapped for many times throughout this community. Kristen, we found during COVID, well, that year, right? And she's been a part of our community since. I think her first introduction was like a Zoom kind of special, like coach's message to our community as we waited for the longest preseason ever. And then we decided to play volleyball with every sport on campus at the same time. Kids still came out. They couldn't share the volleyball at first, but then they could. And it became a sport again. She's one of those notable hires. You know, we have soccer coaches that have started a social media presence that other schools are like, we want to do that. We have track coaches that have made their program a little more professional, and people are craving, they doubled in numbers this year. Our volleyball, this is Miss Kristen Hamilton, but we nominate these coaches throughout the time that I've been here as an athletic director, and then our North Coast section recognizes them. So Rich Schwartz, he got the, why am I blanking? Took the league championship in 2016. Well, when this young lady came to join us, she said, we're going to have a professional team. We're going to make this competitive. We're going to involve, and she loves to win, but she also really cares about these kids. We've had many conversations about young ladies and what they go through. Back-to-back champions this last year and state running. She was also named the state California Coach of the Year for volleyball this year. So that was pretty huge. And we recognized her with our superintendent at her banquet in front of her team. But I don't know that you knew you were getting something else. So I have for you something pretty cool. This is in recognition of your 300th career victory from the AVCA, American Volleyball Coaches Association, the Victory Club. She has joined an elite group of that. And yes. Personally, as an athletic director, it can be daunting to work with such a large community of people and money and programs and people, you know, the kids and everything. But when you work with people like Kristen that run a program as a program and they care about all the kids, the boys program was new, the beach volleyball was new. That's because we have a volleyball program leader that really just loves all and the community and sees bigger than just her varsity team. And she connects and takes time. And so that's why I want to call up with her, one of her student athletes, Miss Taylor Boyce, who you've already been introduced to. This is your moment, stretch. We've been here for 2 hours for those of you just now tuning in. Taylor, the impact that you've had, I mean, you make your coach look amazing, even that much more. But I know that she was grateful to get you your freshman year and she knew your family and everything like that. And we were blessed to have you at Windsor, but you've made an impact insofar as, I mean, she's the first volleyball we have in our trophy case. Just so you know, there's a lot of basketballs and footballs, but it says she got 1,000 kills. And I don't know, I'm pretty sure that people were close maybe, but it was never recognized. So it's a testament to the coach doing her job of recognizing it and to the student athlete that set her goals. And I think we put a quote, maybe it's in the video bulletin coming up. You can take a look. What'd you say? You said something like you set your goal to achieve something and you did it. I mean, you want to play in college, you're getting a full ride scholarship. And she has amazing grades. She's our student athlete of the year. And these are the type of kids, she doesn't have to win all those things, but she represents us well because she's a good person and she's in the community and she cares about her teammates. You watch her on the court, you could see that. So I thank you both for being a part of the program. You're also advocates and great representatives for us to continue this good work. You can't ever leave. And your hashtag, as we say on Windsor Athletics, always a Jag, so you got to come back, okay? And tell us how you're doing. So thank you both for being such a big part of this community. Don't leave yet. Wait. I need somebody's, okay. Can you stay 1 sec? You stayed this long. Okay, cool. Okay, you can sit or stand behind me. That's totally fine. But I have one more slide. I just want to take a picture with them before they leave. Everybody should go home and study math right now. The reports, do we officially have to open that and show it here, or is the link good? Okay. What I'm wanting on this slide is one to say, Rich, I think you said it, right? Early, did you say it? One of you said it, Bill. Update and improve what we have. I just think we've been trying to do that and we're doing that. It's what I constantly want to say. Look at our student section, it's huge. Let's not just make it bigger, let's make it sound more positive, sportsmanship. Let's make it like the interactions more amazing, that type of thing. Beach volleyball, we didn't have to make it bigger, but we can improve what we have. We have space for those kids to stay on our field, and these are the types of investments I would love to see in Windsor Athletics. Is we don't need to make a whole new facility off campus or all of these things. We just want to improve with what we have already. These are some of the previous goals from like 3 years ago. I don't know if the board recognized when I was out here before, but the bullet points on top were from a slideshow about 3 years ago. The ones on the bottom were just some touches that I wanted you to recognize that we've met some of those goals. One big goal I'd like you to see us try to meet next, our youth and our clinics that our coaches already dabble in, connecting even more. We've started a good job in that direction and we are connecting a little bit. The town of Windsor does a pretty good job of it as well, but we want to do it more. We have a great facility and opportunity with our student athletes to connect with youth and keep them involved in sports.
So specifically, Jamie, is that investment policy changes by us? What can we do on the board or with the district office to help with that? To build that articulation of youth clinic programs that start in, let's use Kristen's program, getting kids at the elementary school levels through a club program, et cetera. I know there are clubs going on. Are we just not in that market and somebody else is doing it?
I think that what we expect from our coaches, we only pay them for a season, but the ones that are doing it for all the best and awesome, amazing reasons, they do it for longer than that. They do it year round. And some of our coaches provide these clinics because they want to provide a community that is exciting to come to Windsor High School one day, we hope, and provide a safe place for kids to meet and grow in that sport and make connections at a young age. We do that and we try not to keep the costs too high. I've seen in neighboring places like Marin, when my daughter's playing soccer over there, they're advertising these youth sports and it's all the sports. And Mr. Summers and I, my assistant principal of athletics, we've been discussing our coaches want to do this. They need more structure. So he and I want to provide more of that structure that we can have coaches coming in, like this week is wrestling or this day is wrestling, this day is basketball, this day is volleyball, whatever it looks like. Get a little bit more structure and more communication out there into the community so they can expect Windsor High School, Windsor Unified School District has options for our youth. They have clinics. We know that there's art camps because Miss Colin, who was recognized today, she always puts on art camps. We know Callie does certain things. We want to start providing that at the high school because we have access. We have the facilities. We could use more. People are in our grass over the summer and they're tripping over people and things like that. So, it's out there. It's just improving what we have.
Okay. Help us understand what we can do to help.
Yeah, thank you. Next. I would be remiss without adding some human faces to our photos. Taylor signed and we celebrated her with Miss Buckman was there that day. The scholar athletes I mentioned, these were last spring scholar athletes. Volleyball's first year as a sport, boys volleyball. They won a scholastic team pennant. There's 177 schools in our section. You have to be the top 3 to get one of these. So that was pretty amazing. You could see the smiles on August Kingwell there running in his track team. He's graduating this year. And down below, you see the flowers in the swimmers' hands because they do senior celebrations at the end of their season. Another sport that does not cut and involves quite a few athletes. Next slide, please. This slide is showing you the connections we've made, bridging that gap I was telling you about. You see the Junior Jaggies camp, our social media, some of our fundraisers. This job has changed over the past 20 plus years that Windsor High School's been here. It has more sports. We do fundraisers. It keeps growing. We have a Prowl Cafe now that involves athletics. I've heard it before, if you can do things well, you get more to do kind of thing, right? I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying we're doing things well. There's a lot going on. So thank you for continually supporting us. I think my last slide is just the big thank yous for all you do. And as a cabinet, thank you as well. I know you work hard building relationships with our board as well and making these tough decisions where to spend money, your time. If I can retire doing this glorious job in 10, 15 years, great. But I want someone, to be my successor, loving it just as much and investing in it like I feel it is right here, because people like this matter. The impacts that we make is truly on lives. And so I'm sure I just see a lot of nods from Kai over here. I'm sure, his coaches and his teammates mean a lot to him. So please remember that as you're making decisions. And thank you again. That's it. Okay. Yeah. I could look at my note cards, but I think I went over my time. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. No questions?
Picture. Get a photo. Come on up.
Picture.
Stretch. Lean on me. So you were hoping I was right at the 9. I tried.
Thank you. Yes, there is. Thank you.
Finally, I was over the top of you.
I'm like never in any of the jobs. Nice to meet you. Congratulations.
Okay.
And thank you for staying for so long.
Thank you. Okay, so next up is item 5.3 is consideration of approval of SRJC Sonoma County Early Childhood Education presented by Pete Sullivan. And I don't think Jessica Borland's here.
No, we're actually going to table this item. We couldn't get everything in place before the board meeting. We thought we had it, but we couldn't get one item attached.
Okay.
It just wasn't done.
Thank you. So then we're going to move on to 5.4, which is consideration of approval of MOU between WDEA and WUSD. And this item is presented by Pete Sullivan as well.
All right, one fix. This is just for Windsor Oaks Academy, not Big Picture Learning Windsor. That one will come at a future meeting. We just had a couple things to tweak.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so 5.4 is the MOU for between Windsor Unified School District and WDEA regarding overages. So Windsor Unified and WDEA have a mutual interest in solidifying the compensation due to teachers when their classroom totals or total contacts are over the specified amount that is allowed by contract. Currently, this unique group, Windsor Oaks Academy and North Bay Met, which we will address next month, don't have a contractual maximum. And so they had been kind of floating in a gray area regarding what it was that we were going to enforce. So we sat down with them recently and we think we have found a number that works for everybody. And it looks to be about at 16 or above, $5.50 per student per day, or anything in excess of 18 students will will require teacher permission. And we thought that was a fair amount. And so we've come to this agreement at this point.
Do you need a motion from us or a resolution?
No, not a resolution. Nope, just a motion.
Oh, I make a motion that we move this agreement.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that passes. Thank you.
And it just, in case we missed Bill is all.
Oh,
We missed Bill
Bill's
on the
not here,
vote.
so there's one.
Oh, one.
One.
Does that still pass?
Yeah, it does. 401. And just, I don't know if Kelly wants to speak, but just ask if the public has any comment. It's okay. You can make a motion and still ask if there's any comment.
Okay. Is there any public comment at this point?
Go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next step is 5.5 proposed textbook adoption presented by Mr. Williams.
Good evening, board. We are requesting that you approve a new textbook for the biology advanced placement course for Windsor High School, an environmental science AP course, which would be a new course at Windsor High School. The TK5 science adoption for the entire district. A big ideas in 6th grade math at the middle school, and a new ELD curriculum for our entire district.
I have a comment. I can appreciate that we are adopting a new K-5 science adoption, but I really would like to see on here a K-5 math adoption. Now, part of my cautionary tale here is when K through 5 teachers get this new curriculum, they're going to be spending an awful lot of time getting to know it. Is that taking away now from what our goal has been as a board to work on math and reading? So I'm just throwing out there. I'm not saying, it's a bad thing, but that's just a
fair question.
It's just my cautionary tale.
So we particularly chose Amplify because it's basically an informational text literacy program. It's designed to be used during the language arts block to teach vocabulary and informational text. And then in terms of the math adoption, we decided to put it off for 1 year because the new frameworks were just released. And we want publishers to be able to adopt the new frameworks into their curriculum.
Fair enough, but I'm the watchdog for math, and I'll continue to be as we
Brian,
move forward.
oh, when you said we're putting the math off for a year, you mean changing the book?
Correct. So because they just released the new math frameworks, the publishers have not updated their curriculum yet. So we'll go through that piloting process probably next year.
Got it. Okay, so yeah, so it's a book, not our emphasis that we're going to really work on our kids. Good.
Well, we're definitely going to work on our kids, but yes, and we agree that we need a new curriculum. We just didn't want to jump the gun and not have the books because we have to keep these for 7 years. So we wanted to make sure at least they were reflecting the new framework.
And I did want to applaud the big ideas adoption. I talked to the middle school teacher over there who's teaching that program, and he really likes it and thinks it's going to be he's really excited about teaching it. So I think it's probably a good adoption there.
And it's the same book that we use at the high school.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve these books.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Any public comment?
Any public comment?
Cool.
All right. So we're going to move on to item 5.6, which is technology presentation. And this item will be introduced by Austin and presented by Brad.
Yay. Excited.
So this is our yearly technology presentation, and Brad Brad is here to present kind of an update on what's going on in the technology department. He's going to highlight some of the things that we've been working towards, some of the updates. We're going to touch on AI just a little bit, Mullen Ollie, because I know you talked about that. So we actually have a little bit of that. But so Brad, take it away.
Hello, everybody. So let's see, I'm about to be here 4 years. July will be my 4 years. And in those 4 years, I've done nothing but we have done nothing but giant projects really, really quickly. So the focus of this year is tightening things up, honing processes, and making sure that we're moving forward still while making sure that we're keeping an eye on the projects that we've got. So what we're doing is we're tying a nice, I'm changing slides and I'm not telling you, click. All right. So what does this mean? So we're tying a nice bow on a lot of big projects that we've been doing. This is everything. So with huge network projects, with a huge phone project that ties into our intercom system, which has an alert system for things happening on campus, there's training needed on both my side, my team side, as well as staff who are dealing with all this stuff. So we're working on a better workflow for all of that stuff. We're also working on a lot of the on and offboarding minutia that has to go with these systems. There are people who run things like the phone system. There are people who run things like the PA and announcement system. And every time a staff changes, there's a lot of little minutia that needs to happen, right? So that's one of the things you'll hear more about offboarding here in a little bit. One of the things we're also doing that's been tightening things up is we're renaming phones. So when I dial 911 right now, it just says Windsor Middle School called or Windsor High School called. What we're able to do when we name all the phones very smartly, and we're naming them with room numbers, is that when I make that call, it actually says which room made the phone call. So when police and responders are coming, they know. We're also working in the background. We're just starting to do this we're actually cleaning up the naming and mapping in the entire district so that we can fix inventory, make sure maps are clear, and make sure naming and inventory and all of those things are really tight, because they're not. And another thing we've done a little bit to add to our Zoom phone situation is we're adding Zoom rooms to a lot of our spaces, right? So Jeremy's office, you've seen this in our the conference room. We've added one to this, the high school, the middle school, and I've got more and more requests from the Zoom rooms are simply a sound bar with a nice camera in it that a whole room of people can be a member of a Zoom meeting. Click. We're also, so speaking of resource requests and evaluating things like new software platforms, new texts that come with websites, new things along those lines. And as we look at our scorecards, we're coming up with ways to, what we've made is a resource planning and adoption guide. So let's say I have a math program and I've heard about it from my friends and I want to use it at my school. We now have some resources and a planning guide to make sure that not only is it the right thing, it's successful, and that we've got some planning and training around it. In addition to that, we have a huge catalog of these things already. So we're also cataloging what we have, and we're working on evaluating what those things are doing for us and whether they're working well or not, so that we're getting the ROI we expect out of our investments. So that's a big thing. Click. I'm going to change my click here. So back to modernizing on and offboarding, right? So with all of these systems and with all of this stuff, we have to give people access to stuff. We have to give people training to stuff. We have to give, and then when it's over, we have to take it away. This is everything from access to accounts, computers, keys, doors, all of this stuff. There's miles and miles of minutia related to on and offboarding. We're actively, in fact, on Friday, tomorrow, we're going to spend we've got 2 hours scheduled. So we're categorizing staff into groups, right? So there's basic staff with a computer, there's advanced staff, there's admin staff, there's tech staff, and there's like super admin, right? Each of those people, each of those categories have buckets of things that they get. So if we bucketize these items, we can start to think about automating onboarding and automating offboarding, right? So you're going to see in the next slide. In fact, I'll go ahead and go to the next slide. We're going to do this a little bit with automating some of our forms. So we've got the DO3 form. You may have heard about the DO3 form. It literally is every change that ever happens with a staff member, right? And that's from a transfer to a change in title to a new position to kind of a lot of other things that I'm maybe not thinking of right now. If we can automate that form, we can alert people who need to do things, buy things, and accomplish tasks way early in the process. For example, new position. Does that new position qualify for a computer? Cool. I can buy inventory for that. I also can buy licenses for software. I can set up things so that on that first day, rather than us scrambling to make sure that all of these things are in place for a teacher to be successful, it's already done. So there's a lot of systems kind of coming, and this is stuff that is in play right now, and it's collaborative with the HR department, with business services. It's literally the entire DO getting into this together to categorize staff. So the work that we're doing tomorrow will be, what does a basic staff need? And then in addition to that, who qualifies for basic staff? And so all of these staff bucketizations will help us automate all of the things people get. I think I may have gone a little too fast. Nope, I haven't. Now click. We're also introduced, you guys approved a brand new ticketing system that's going to help with all of this stuff. So imagine a world where the DO3 starts a new staff. Imagine that talks to our ticketing system and triggers a bunch of events where I get a ticket, Pete gets a ticket, other people here might get a ticket, which is the task that that person has to do. Make keys, start alarm codes, create accounts, give computer, all kinds of things, start training. All of this stuff can be automated through our ticketing system, and we can see where in the process certain things are either failing or slowing down. So we can say, oh, I guess you didn't get onboarded on that system yet because of these reasons. Pretty cool. In addition to that, the new ticket system works with Aries, so we will know teachers' schedules. So instead of running into the classroom hoping to help you when you're teaching kids and your hair's on fire, we're going to come in there after, or maybe even better, we're going to come in your last 5 minutes, kind of wait around and talk to you in between classes. This way, we didn't make a trip to do something that you're not there for, or we won't try and fix something, have it not be fixed, here 2 weeks later that it's still not fixed. We get to talk to you. In addition, let's say I'm a teacher and I'm making a ticket. I can click on the class that I'm in right now. I will have Chromebook inventory for everybody in my class, and I could say, this guy right here needs some help, and I can make a ticket on that student's behalf. On my side, let's say I'm a respondent to the ticket, I can go ahead and very quickly, rather than typing in all of the details of the things I did while I visited that classroom, I have a button for visited classroom and inspected the issue, tried this. So my input to the system is much quicker and much better as well, and it tracks my time much easier. In addition to that, let's say I used a part, or whatever else. That inventory comes out of real inventory so that I know when to restock that part. Maybe I'm driving a van and that van has parts in it. I know how to restock that. So this is all stuff that's just coming, and we're very, very excited. I go quickly with these things. And I don't breathe. So give me a moment. Next slide, please. So standards, right? So with tightening all of our stuff and learning better to support all of these new systems, we're doing district standards, right? So by district standards, I mean everything from standard devices in a classroom, standard televisions in a classroom, standard naming of things, standard naming of doors. Right? We found that there's a lot of doors that have technical equipment in them that don't have numbers. I walked into a room the other day, and in that room had a door, and in that room had a door, and in that room, there was stuff I cared about. I didn't even know that that door existed. So we're doing a bunch of work to make sure that we know where all the doors are and what they're named and where stuff is, right? All of this makes for efficient workflow. Let's see, anything on this side? No. Oh, documentation. So just like we're standardizing things, we're also doing better on documentation, because not only do I have to document things for myself and for my team so that we all know what we're doing and how things are done, but we can do it for staff and students, right? More for staff than anybody else, but this includes, it's not just here are the IP addresses of our network equipment. It's here's how to do this thing for my team, here's how to do this thing for teachers, and here's how to do this thing for general staff. It's a lot of big work, but it's literally writing a manual. device refresh. This one's fun. So we started doing this a little bit last year. You guys approved 3 leases for 3 labs at Windsor Windsor High School, and we did those on 5-year leases. The whole idea behind this is computers last about 5 years. So why would you pay for them all at once? You will. This is, maybe you have the money, maybe it's one-time money, but one-time money causes problems down the road. You buy a thing and then 5 years, 10 years from now, it's old and it's broken. Can you support it anymore? Is that a whole program that's relying on that thing? Potentially. So we're getting into leases. So right now we're looking at staff computers, refreshing them all, getting them on a 5-year cycle. And it's really, really easy. The perk for staff, everybody knows they've got a device that's within 5 years, and we have a known cost per year what staff computers cost us. So I think that's a really important thing. Oh, am I getting there? I'm almost done. Preparing for the future. Now that AI conversation. So we're just dipping our toes in. We are not experts on any level. But the things we've learned is, well, there's a bunch of people in the district office. I'm looking at all of you guys over here. Everybody here is very much interested in using this on our side so far. The student side is a little tricky, right? Because AI has unpredictable output. The database it has, it's only what it's been fed, and you can ask it a question. Let's say you're doing that in a classroom, unpredictable output. You may have embarrassing weirdness come out of it when you're doing it in a classroom. So we're actively talking about how it works in the classroom, but there are so many tools for us as educators. I'm looking at something right now they call it an AI remote. And it's basically a remote for a TV, but it turns your TV kind of into smart television. You can talk to it. You can also say, make me a lesson plan on this. And it does. It does the research. It tells you what to do. It gives you the pieces and does it all for you. Is that cheating? Questions, right? I think it's helping, right? It's done the research. It's done all of the small things that maybe you don't have time for on your behalf. Now, of course, we're all looking at this stuff. Oh, please.
If I may interrupt for a moment, I just wanted to mention that one of the things that I learned when taking the AI class is that AI tends to do something that's called hallucinations, which means that it just makes up a bunch of information that is not accurate. So there's always that danger and pitfall where you have to fact check what it's telling you because it could very well make up gibberish.
Right.
So just
and
wanted
that
to
is
mention
the skill that students need to know.
Yes.
Right.
I think
it's
that's
about leveraging this tool.
I think kids are using that when they come home late. They're asking for a good excuse of why they're not where they're supposed to be. Is that what the gibberish is that they're getting?
No, it really just makes up like weird stuff.
It really does.
Yeah.
It does. And a lot of times it's great stuff. It's a lot of times it makes my words better. I have this practice of using the Apple Notes app in my car. I dictate to it. And then I put that in AI and it does stuff. It's great. Anyway.
I was doing some testing one day and I asked the AI ChatGPT to name some of the top female leaders during the Mexican Revolution. And I know that you all are going to laugh at this, but it came up with J-Lo as one of the. So that's what I mean is it just makes up things that it thinks sound logical, but they're not logical. So that's why you really have to fact check because you don't know when it's going to do that. Just sort of randomly does that. And other times it works really great. It comes up with awesome information, but there's always that pitfall where it could just make up things.
Yeah, it's unpredictable, right? And that's both the joy and the pitfall. I'm just going to skip back over AI since we've been talking about it this whole time. We're exploring new classroom technology, things like smart boards. I shouldn't use the word smart. They're interactive display panels. Smart is a brand like Band-Aid. But we're looking at these. It's at this day and age, the price difference between a normal TV and that is shrunk massively. So some of our sites are looking at this. And it's very interesting technology. So we have different schools are piloting it right now. And lastly, you guys also approved something today towards this last one, which is our data center modernization. So back in the olden times, we would have servers in closets taking up power all of the time. And that's still happening a little bit, and we will need one to back up what we put in the cloud. But Clever, that thing you guys approved today, that is our cloud directory system moving forward. So Clever also allows students to easily log into all of our education platforms. What's cool about them too, is they're going to synchronize Microsoft and Google accounts into one place clever so that when I change a password, I change it in one place and all of the places get changed. This is also a server in the sky. So I don't have to keep the lights on or the internet working or any of that for login accounts or any of that stuff. And it also eases things for teachers. I log on as a teacher. I see my entire roster. It's a K-12 integrated solution, and it's totally amazing and not very expensive. So thank you for approving that. That's kind of the last thing I have on here. Questions or anything like that? Or
Thank you. I always appreciate your reports. So thanks.
Thanks so
And
much.
did you use AI generated artwork?
100%.
I loved it.
Is AI. So not the words, right?
Was that first one a
But literally
self-portrait?
all of, besides Gandalf with the friend, all of this, in fact, with the program that I used, I spent all of my credits making the images just right, because you have to give it all the prompts, right? And I said,
So he's not reading.
I just want to mention one more thing because I get so excited about this, but the other test I did is I actually had my students at Sonoma State feed the AI, a essay topic and have it come up with their like own essay homework. And then I had them write their own essay and compare and tell me which was better writing. And they said 100% of the time, the student writing was much better than the AI. So just want to mention, where we are. All right. Thank you so much.
Guys.
Okay, so we are now moving on to item 5.7, Maddie Washburn preschool presentation presented by Brian Cameron from Van Pelt Construction Services and also Austin. I just want to say thank you for your patience.
Oh yeah, no worries. I'll try and keep up that pace from Ren. I know it's getting late. I also want to introduce Aaron Brazier. He's assistant construction manager. I know some of you have met him already. Click. So I'll try and run through this pretty quickly. We'll just go through the site discovery at Maddie Washburn, project overview and funding, and then project schedule. Next slide. So as part of the facilities master plan that was approved last February, we had planned to do a pre-kinder complex at Maddie Washburn over in the Pleasant Ave Park. After looking into this with maintenance and Jeremy and Austin, we discovered that the property line for the park was a little further out than we thought. So we had a little bit more area in that park. So when we found this out, we had a meeting with the Parks Department because we know they have some planned work in that park. So we wanted to make sure to coordinate with them, make sure the work they're doing didn't conflict with any of our planned work. So after that meeting, things seemed to work out pretty well. Their part of the work is on the other side of the park. So we have our Maddie pre-K area next to the current drop-off area available. So as part of this project, we're planning to update or build new facilities for the pre-kinder, meeting all Title V and CDE requirements. So the littles have their own little segregating area to kind of sit down and do their learning. And this area is also adjacent to the current TK area. So if they ever want to collaborate, they'll be pretty close by. Next slide.
Yeah. So real quickly, I'll go over the project overview. So for both phases, we're looking at constructing 5 total 1350 square foot classrooms per Title V. At the end of all the phases, you're looking at 1,000 square foot administrative building. And then to follow that up, developing site work to include play area tailored for 2 to 5 year olds, Cal Green landscaping requirements, and new electrical and plumbing utilities. If you took a peek at the site layout, you could see the referencing of the 2 phases and the more opaque classrooms being of the second phase and how it kind of plays into the property boundaries and where that playground area would be.
Good. Next slide. So as Aaron mentioned, we have the phase 1, which would be 3 1350 square foot classrooms and all of the site utilities. I'll hand over the project funding to Austin.
Thanks, Brian. As you can see, total anticipated cost for this project is 7.1 million, and that's just for phase one. So if you noticed on what Brian was saying, we had phase one, which is just the 3 buildings and the site work, the site utilities coming over. The phase 2 would then be the admin building, the playground, the all that additional work and the 2 additional classrooms. But just the phase 1 is 7.1 million. We're going to be transparent here in the available funds. And, right now in the California State Preschool Program, we do have an excess, but we have an excess of 1.2 million. So that's set for next year that we can put to this project. For the Fund 40 donation, that's the donation that we received several years ago. It was a $1 million donation. And then we've spent a little bit of that, but we have roughly 900,000 of it left. And then the key point here is possible developer fees and possible state reimbursement. So as of right now for developer fees, we have all of our developer fees are going to the Cali project and they're eaten up. But again, if you guys remember a few board meetings ago, we approved a developer fee increase that took effect as of yesterday. So any new developments that come in and have to pay developer fees are going to be a much higher rate. And so we're expecting roughly 500,000 when looking at the new demographic study, but it could be a lot more. But again, that it could also be 0. We're guessing. Possible state reimbursement, 2.5 million. So right now with the Mattie Washburn project, we applied for modernization funding through the state. They were cutting checks there rapidly and they were getting close to us on the list. The problem though is the governor has, Meadow, you might want to watch your head next. The problem is with the Mattie Washburn project is the governor has part of the state budget bill that Mike McGuire was a piece of. They cut funding those that modernization funding, and we have not received our money yet. So it is up in the air whether we will receive this 2.5 million before the completion of this project. And as of right now, it's not looking like it. However, we could receive it.
And I'm sorry, Austin, what was that fund for?
So when we did the 17 classrooms at Mattie Washburn, we pay for that with bond funds, right? But then we also apply for what's called state funding, so modernization funding.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so the state will fund certain projects, and that's what's great about bond funds is you go out for, as we talked tonight with Brian Moore, you go out for an 80 or 100 million or $120 million bond, but that's really a lot more money because then you can utilize state funding. So that project roughly, Brian, how much was the 17 classrooms at Mattie Washburn? It was
that one. It was
9.
When we figured out it was about 9 million when the costs were a lot lower.
Yeah, and then we're going to receive 2.5 in state funding. So that gives you an idea of how much a $100 million bond for us could really mean money-wise and how we could utilize state funding.
But did you just hear the cost for 17 classrooms versus what the costs are now? It was about 500,000 a classroom.
Yeah, it was, we did that without, right when COVID started. So people were looking for work. And then shortly after that, all the pricing skyrocketed.
So if you look at this, obviously this doesn't look great, right? It costs 7.1 million, we have 5. So what are we doing here? Well, there's a few reasons why we're here. One, we didn't anticipate $7.1 million. Usually these costs were coming in. I'll just say what I anticipated, about $1 million a classroom, which we would have had the funds potentially for this project. But what does this say? This says if we really want to do this project, we either need to come up with some money someplace else somehow that's not, known or in our budget currently, or we need to pass a bond, which is part of this process. And so the timeline that's built in that you'll see next has the bond included. Really, we try to create the timeline in anticipation of passing a bond. Now, if we don't, we're in trouble and you guys are going to have to make some tough decisions. Where do we pull these funds from? But why are we here? Because we want to be ready if we pass the bond. And so in the future items, we're going to talk about the design, how to get this thing ready to go. Where if we pass the bond, we can get those shovels on the ground and get it ready to go for our kids to start, not next year, but the following year.
Yeah, one thing to add, Austin and I went back and forth on as far as phasing this project out. And it didn't really make sense to design to the lesser value, we're kind of moving forward with designing the whole project, and then we can cut it down from there if we run into issues with funding.
And we could we do this with portables? Sure. That is, I think we don't want to do that anymore as a district. So that's not part of this conversation unless we were really desperate, but really in our plans, that's not part of what we're planning to do.
Yeah, and as to what Austin was saying about going out for matching state funds, we want to make sure we're designing to that criteria.
So a couple questions, Austin. So assuming that the state reimbursement doesn't happen, it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen eventually.
Correct.
It just means that it's delayed, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay, so it's a delay issue. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. If we can get this plan now, when would we bid this out, Brian, roughly?
So I think we would probably get they call it the total base rent or the GMP. We can probably get that in November or December.
The reason why I'm asking is because right now in the construction world, they're laying people off all over the place. I put an ad out for a builder. I got 160 replies. 20 of the 160 were like exemplary. I never get, and then there was another 25 on top of that. There would probably be 2 or 3 normally. One of my buddies that owns a big construction firm, they've laid 200 carpenters off. So, and when we were talking about to other general contractors, they're all downscaling a lot right now. So I'm having a feeling that if we are prepared, that we could get some costs. Now, materials are still pretty inflated, but I think as other things contract, that also can have a effect. Price of fuel, petroleum, that's the big driver, to be honest, with over half of the different materials they all derive from that. But anyhow, we also potentially might have funding for this from other sources too, right? So we have 2 or 3 different avenues, maybe.
We do, and they're not put on there because they're not guaranteed.
Nothing's
We still
real
have a lot of work to do, but yeah, some of the other things that we're looking at.
Oh, and that was the thing. So the anticipated cost right now, 7.1 million, is that for everything or just phase 1?
That's
So
for,
what would phase 2 add? I don't know if I missed it.
So phase 2 would be adding 2 more classrooms and the admin building.
And those 2 classrooms, just so we can talk through the project, the 3 preschool classrooms, you have 24 students in each of those classrooms. Okay, so do the math, 24 times 3, right? And the idea is that, we're universal for 4-year-olds. About half of the families who would, who come to our school right now at 4 would potentially come at 3. So we're trying to prepare for that. The other 2 classrooms would be for special education students as well, because we have preschool, we have STC preschools and whatnot. And so we would like to build those out, make it really a whole campus. But those, I don't want to say they're not fully necessary right now because they kind of are, because we need to expand preschool by 1 classroom to keep our funds. And we're trying to figure out a way to do that at Maddie Washburn right now. And it's pretty difficult because there are very specific requirements, 1,350 square feet, bathroom inside, all the things. So ideally, we would like those 2 classrooms so that it really fits, because Maddie Washburn simply doesn't have the rooms with bathrooms in them. But having said that, we can wait and that can be delayed. We can find some workarounds at Maddie Washburn for the time being.
So if we bid this out, will we bid it out, Brian, with phase 1 and also phase 2 as an adult?
Yeah, so
we
that's
can
kind
lock
of
those
what I'm
prices
thinking
in?
about doing. So later in the agenda, I have the resolution to go out for a lease back. And that way we would only get a contractor under contract for pre-construction services. I'm estimating about 20,000 for that. Maybe I'm going to make it competitive. So hopefully that contractor comes in lower. Could be 5,000, could be 0 if they really want the job. That way we have time to kind of work through this, through the pre-construction, kind of work on all the details for the project. And then once we have DSA approval, hopefully we'll know if we'll have more state funding or other types of fund available. And then we can cut costs out, cut buildings out, to try and fit into our current, funding and budget.
And tonight, this item is not asking for, it's not asking for any action, right? It's a presentation to set up the next two items, which are really the planning parts of this project. So if there's questions about the project, the rationale for why we're trying to do it, this is really kind of when to ask.
Yeah, so just to make it clear, like we would only be on the hook for all our soft costs. It could be like our design fee, the pre-construction, to get the project moving. Once we get to that DSA approval phase, which will be most likely in early January, we can kind of start looking at how much money we have to actually build the project.
And there's actually an important part here that Austin's, I hope you're prepared to answer. Put you on the spot. So with our preschool funding, it's ongoing. So it's not one time. So that 1.2, we have to expand our preschool to continue to get funds. And there are certain things that we have to do. Otherwise, the state will say, you're actually not in compliance with what we said we were going to fund. So that money goes away. So could you speak to that funding, Austin?
Yeah, so part of when we did the California State Preschool Program, when we submitted our application, I wish Jessica was here, but that's okay. There was a 3-year plan, right? And within that 3-year plan, you had to show that you were increasing a certain amount. And by the end of that 3-year plan, you had to be there. Well, next year is the end of that 3-year plan. So that 1.2 million that I said was there, that won't be there in the future. So we have that funding now that we can utilize that we wouldn't be able to utilize in the future. On top of that, if we don't expand to that point, then they could not renew our preschool funding or ask for some of that funding back that we've had these last 3 years. Now the hard part though is it's all gray, right? So they say that, would they actually do it? You know, we're leaving it in the hands of the state at that point. So yeah, we're in a kind of tough spot, which is why we wanted to bring it and be transparent.
All right, any other further comments from the board? No? Any public comment? Nope. All right, and then this is not something we're voting on tonight, right?
No, it's just an opportunity to really ask all the questions, right? Because we're going to ask for the design money next. So if you have questions, please ask them.
Is that 1.2 applicable to the design fees, Austin?
Correct. Yeah, we could charge the design fees to the 1.2. Yes.
So we could use it towards the design fees before it might disappear and go away.
Yes, sir.
Got it. Okay. So I thought that's what.
Yep.
Yeah, and if I wasn't clear, that's what I was saying. We have the money to move forward with the design. But if for whatever reason the money isn't there once the design is complete, we don't have to move any further.
So the design should be done around January. We should by that time know, sorry.
I think it was before, correct?
We'll submit to DSA in,
I'm sorry, yeah, I'm sorry, I misspoke. So yeah, well, you'll have the design done, submitted to DSA, should have DSA approval in January.
Correct.
Roughly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have a bond. If we put a bond out in November, we would
We could
know.
sell the bonds by that time and be ready to go.
and we probably wouldn't encumber a lot of that money or have to pay the contractor until probably like February next year. So we have that cushion built in.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, so I think we can move on to 5.8, which is the studio proposal for Maddie Washburn, presented by Austin.
So this is the, and Brian, if you wouldn't mind staying up there, this is the actual architect designing this and we'd be approving it. Brian, you want to talk through the architect's rates and how they're pretty much standard for industry?
Yeah, so CASA, they use the Office of Public School Construction's sliding scale based on the estimate to price out the fee. It's under 8%. We're used to seeing somewhere from 8 to 12% on architect fees. So it's within your normal rate. And we've worked with CASA in the past and we know they're not going to hit us with any ad services or anything moving forward. We also have the proposal broken out for construction and then construction administration. So if by any reason we don't move forward with the construction, we're not on the hook for that money.
All right, other questions?
I'm just making sure this is. So this design is phase 1 and 2.
Correct, yeah, because there's no point to design for the lesser phase, because we can just cut that out later.
All good.
But Rich, to your point, so if you actually look at what's up that you guys are approving, it says 597,500. But if you actually go into it, we would only have to pay for that phase 1 through DSA approval, which is roughly 360,000-ish. The project construction, we wouldn't have to pay for if we decide not to move forward.
Right. So they're doing it all.
Mm-hmm.
We pay for phase 1.
Mm-hmm.
The bond passes November.
Yep.
We can tell them, hey,
Yep.
we're going to actually do both phases and we're still good to go. We don't lose any time.
Yeah,
You got it.
and we wouldn't have to come back to the board in that case as well.
If bond doesn't pass, we have the plans. We decide what we're going to do.
All good.
All right, any other comments?
This isn't a resolution, right?
No.
Just a vote?
No, it's not.
Before we take a vote, I'd like to ask if there's any public comments? No? Our audience of one. All right, so is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve this item.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. So that looks like that passes. Let's see, we are now on item 5.9, Maddie Washburn Preschool Project Resolution, Adopting Procedures and Guidelines. This is going to be presented by Superintendent Decker.
That's a lie. That's Brian.
Yeah, so this is a like same resolution we passed in the before for both of the Cali projects. This would allow us to go out for an RFP for a leaseback contractor. And we're doing it the same way we did the Cali TK, where we're going to have that contractor provide us with a pre-checked PSA building. So they'll, like Cali, they'll have a standard design for a TK or preschool classroom that will help streamline that DSA submittal process. So once we get that contractor selected, we'll come back to the board to award them just for the pre-construction phase. That way, as I mentioned before, we can kind of work through the design, get their input, and they can give us a constructability review. And then once we have those drawings completed, that's when they would go price out the whole project. We can phase it out, phase 1, phase 2, or we can move forward with the whole construction. Or I'm going to be pretty transparent in the RFP that we might have some funding issues. So that way, if there's any issues down the line with the funding part, we can just kind of leave the contract there and not move forward with anything.
Can you talk a little bit more about those funding issues?
That's what Austin and Jeremy
connected
had
to
talked
the same
about
thing, I see.
previously. So same issue.
Okay. Are there any comments from the board? Nope. Any public comments? Nope. All right. So we're almost at 9:45. So I'd like to just take the opportunity to see if there's a motion so we could extend the meeting a little bit.
So move.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Well, we haven't done the resolution.
Yep. I'll make a motion on 5.9.
I'll second.
And is this a resolution in the form? So it's going to be a roll call.
Right. Hold on.
Malinali Lopez,
Yes.
Stephanie Amott,
Yes.
Paul Cagorno,
Yes.
Rich Carnation,
Yes.
Bill Adams,
Yes.
student board members, Meadow Grace and Kai Ossie.
Yes.
Yes.
This your last vote? Say it loud and proud.
Loud and proud. Affirmative dance.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So let's see, we are on 6.1 future board meeting items. Anybody on the board?
We can't comment.
Student board members?
It's okay.
That's okay. We like your ideas. Okay, I don't have anything for this, but I did see that we do have a marketing study session that's coming up in, is it July?
No.
No, I saw that on a matrix in your superintendent report. I'll have to look at that again. I'll just email you privately about that.
Okay.
Okay, great.
And then
All
we do
right.
have to go back into close for a short time.
Yes.
We can adjourn.
You guys are gonna put on later.
Recess it.
All right, so I am just gonna go ahead and adjourn this meeting
You're going to recess back into. closed
because
session.
we're gonna recess back into closed session.
Somebody please note whatever time you finish.
You're not going to hang out?
There's no food left. You know me. There's food left.
I'm going to find something.
So you luckies get to go home.